Wrigley Field in Chicago, 355 down the left field line and 353 to the foul pole in right, 400 feet to dead center field, and 368 into the power alleys in left center and right center. The power belonged to the Cubs yesterday with those 3 home runs, Tony, Say, Moreland, and Jody Davis.
Here's the umpiring crew. Doug Harvey, the veteran behind home plate. Joe West at first. Jerry Crawford, the second base umpire. And Bob Davidson will be at third base. The wind blowing in from right field, so it'll kill any ball hit out to the right field sector. Anything hit the left center field will be given a little help if it's up in the air. A great, great ballpark, and they'll have another packed house.
Let's take a look at the lineup Whitey Herzog will use today against the left-hander Steve Trout. The Cardinals will lead off with Lonnie Smith, a lifetime .316 hitter who's batting .269, and there are those who say, Tony, that Lonnie Smith really is the key to this Cardinal attack.
Well, he's been hitting a lot of ground balls to the left side, pulling off the ball. Whitey Herzog's been working with him along with other of the players.
Ozzie Smith moves up to the second spot with the left-hander Steve Trout. There's Trout walking out toward the mound. Ozzie is batting .240 overall, but right-handed. He's hitting .350, 21 for 60, so he bats second today. Willie McGee, who had 2 hits yesterday and is batting .256, is the center fielder and number 3 hitter. George Hendrick got a day off yesterday, back in the cleanup spot against the left-hander today and playing right field. David Green plays first base, and he bats 5th. The switch hitter Tommy Herr is the second baseman batting 6th. Another move designed because the left-hander is starting for the Cubs. Art Howe at third base, and he bats 7th. Darrell Porter, left-handed batter, drops to number 8, and he'll catch. And Ralph Citarella makes his first major league start, pitching today for the Cardinals.
Steve Rainbow Trout, who's become the ace of this staff for Jim Fry's Cubs. Here's the defense behind him. Gary Matthews, a left-turner who just covers almost all of that outfield for the Cubs. Hasn't made an error yet this season. He's in center. Keith Moreland playing regularly with Mal Hall gone to Cleveland in right field. Ron Say, Larry Bowen, Ryne Sandberg, and Leon Durham around the horn. Jody Davis, the catcher.
And Steve Trout, who's making his first appearance since June 13th. He left a game against Montreal here at Wrigley Field with a swollen left index finger, injured it while batting. Prior to that, he'd had to leave a couple of starts early because of arm problems. So in his last 3 starts, he hasn't pitched beyond the 6th inning. Prior to that, you go back to May 30th when he flirted with a no-hitter. He no-hit Atlanta at Atlanta for 7 2/3 before Albert Hall got an infield single. Overall, Trout is 7-3. His ERA of 2.30 is 3rd in the National League behind Nolan Ryan of the Astros and Alejandro Pena of the Dodgers.
And Bob, this is Trout's 4th start against the Cardinals. He has 1 win, no losses against them. Earned run average below 1. I'll tell you, Billy Connors, the Cubs pitching coach, has done a job on Trout. He has got him sinking his fastball, and he will pitch games now where 90%, 9 out of 10 pitches, are pitches off his sinker ball. Fastball, change speeds, he'll mix in an occasional breaking ball. He'll speed it up his most a little bit. If he keeps the ball down with his high grass, he'll be tough today.
Let's take a look back at yesterday's action. A rocky first inning for John Stupert of the Cardinals as the Cubs scored 4 times. Here's the Moreland home run, a 3-run shot in the first. Moreland has been hot of late. Had a string of 6 consecutive hits earlier in the week against the Phillies and Pirates. And here he runs out his 5th homer of the year. This is later with Jeff Lottie pitching, and Jody Davis hits the back fence, almost making it onto Waveland Avenue with home run number 11 for him. And then a bit later on in the ballgame, Ken Daly, the left-hander they acquired from Atlanta in the Oberkfell deal, is touched for a Ron Say homer, number 10 on the season for Say. The Cubs romp. Russell gets the win, 9-3 Cubbies.
Well, Whitey Herzog was lamenting this morning in front of a bunch of writers about pitching high fastballs and high sliders to this Cubs team. And that's what they hit yesterday.
Ron Say, he has a streak of 57 consecutive errorless games, approaching a National League record. The Cub third baseman. Ball 1 to Lonnie Smith. Fouled off 1-1. Although Smith's batting average is down, one saving grace is that his walks are up. He's drawn 37 walks this year, giving him an on-base percentage of .376, which is pretty good.
Whitey Herzog was saying the irony of it all is to show you how goofed up we are. We're leading the National League in walks.
Squib down to Durham. He'll take it himself for the first out.
Cardinals basically have been pretty much of a free-swinging ball club. They hit and run a lot. They start base runners. They hit to all fields off you. They're not usually the kind of team that walks a lot. You wonder if they're become a little passive and not aggressive as a team with the bats in their hands.
The Cardinals are a team which likes to get in front early, even more so than most clubs, because their plan is to try to get to the 6th inning or so, bring in Neil Allen, and then follow up with Bruce Sutter. But the Cardinals, who have had trouble scoring runs generally, have been especially ineffective early. They haven't scored a first-inning run since May 30th. They've gone 19 straight games without a first-inning run. Tap foul. Steve Trout is 26 years old, 6'4" and 189. His famous father, Dizzy Trout, was a right-hander. Pitched for 15 years in the American League, mostly with the Tigers. 2-1 to Ozzie Smith.
In fact, Dizzy, Rainbow's father, pitched in the 45 World Series for the Tigers against the Cubs.
Dizzy Trout twice won 20 games for the Tigers, with a high of 27 in 1944. 3-1 to Ozzie Smith. What a combination Dizzy Trout and Hal Newhouser were for the Tigers in the 40s. 1944, Trout won 27. Newhouser won 29. Ozzie Smith draws a 1-out walk. Nick Leyva is the first base coach down there with Ozzie Smith. Hal Lanier, the Cardinal coach, at third. Willie McGee, 256 overall. Go to first and Ozzie back easily. Willie is not as good a hitter right-handed as left-handed, has a tendency to chase breaking balls outside the strike zone when batting right-handed. And he's at just 196 from the right side this year.
He went into one of those stretches, Bob, where they stopped throwing him strikes. They know that he swings at anything. And then when he stopped swinging the bat, trying to lay off bad pitches, he lost a little bit of his aggressiveness.
Fouled off 0-1.
It's interesting, Bob. Yesterday before the ball game, we sat with the redhead, Red Shaney. He's been around the Cardinals for a lot of years. He was saying, you will see more balls by our hitters, Cardinals, right-handed fouled off to the right side, left-handers fouled off to the left side. He said, we just seem to be swinging late on all fastballs. Although the Cardinals' record this year is better against left-handed pitchers decision-wise than rights, left-handers do give them trouble. We cut their running game down a little bit. We turn the switch hitters around to the right side.
A 1 pitch to Willie McGee from Steve Trout.
False start had Larry Bow out of position. Trout sped up his delivery. He sped up his delivery just a little bit. What happens is, we'll show you from our left center field camera, Trout varied his rhythm, but that little move got Larry Bow about 4 steps out of position had the ball been hit to the left side.
Little tap, Say comes in and fields it. No chance at second, retires McGee at first. And Ozzie Smith is in scoring position with 2 out.
Cubs defense generally, you talked about his consecutive game errorless streak. Ron Say trying to catch Jimmy Davenport for the National League record. Don Money holds the Major League record. But they don't make a whole lot of errors. They won about 10 consecutive games errorless ball, this team. They don't cover a whole lot of ground on the left side or in left or right center, right field. They don't miss many.
So now Hendrick with 2 out and a man at second. Ball 1 to him. There's some concern now with Mel Hall having been dealt to Cleveland, that outside of Bob Dernier, the Cubs are sorely lacking in outfield speed, with Dernier flanked by Matthews in left and Moreland in right, and they think it might hurt them, especially on the road on AstroTurf.
Well, tomorrow, Henry Cotto will be called back up from the minor leagues. There's a 10-day waiver period. That's up tomorrow because of the confusion with the trade. So they'll have defensive speed if they need him late in the ball game. Outstanding outfielder.
1-1 now to Hendrick as we pause briefly for station identification on the NBC television network. fastball is lined, and it is through there for a base hit. The Cardinals may have a first inning run. Here comes Ozzie. For the first time in almost a month, the Cardinals are on the board in the first inning.
Well, this is the man they count on so for RBI production. A good low ball hitter. You can see the ball down at the knees with that straight up stance. Hendricks like to extend those arms. Now a little conference. Durham will have a talk with Trout.
If the reaction to the Cardinal run seemed a bit louder than you're accustomed to hearing for a visitor's run at Wrigley Field, it's because a lot of Cardinal fans are in attendance every time these two teams meet here. And similarly, in St. Louis, the Cubby fans make the trip in. A lot of red shirts and red hats at Wrigley Field today, Cardinal boosters.
Well, they can talk about Giant Dodger matchups down through the years, Yankee Boston Red Sox, but this rivalry is right up there with them. Cardinals Cubs.
1-0 to David Green. Changeup, swung on and missed.
Everything off his fastball. Billy Connors has taken away a couple of his pitches. He'll use them to show hitters, a slider and curveball, but basically it's changing speeds on the fastball, the sinker.
Green has hit Trout well. He's 8 for 17 against him lifetime. 2-1.
I'll tell you, Steve Trout doesn't miss a whole lot. With the help of Charlie Fox, an executive here in Super Scout, he's been into Zen Buddhism. He's been into the martial arts. Today he had a session with hypnotist Harvey Meisel out of St. Paul. He's covering all the ground, isn't he?
Next thing you know, it'll be hot tubs and quiche.
He has been known as a flake, and I mean that in a pleasant fashion. So he's too fighting. Whitey Herzog, who just a couple of years ago won a World's Championship with basically the same ball club. Different pitching staff. It's been changed a little bit with LaPointe, of course, sore shoulder, stupor, suffering.
And the big changes at the corners of the infield. Oberkfell gone and Keith Hernandez gone. Payoff pitch with the runner going, and Green is a strikeout victim. But the Cardinals touch Trout for a run in the top of the first on the RBI single by Hendrick. Lead it 1-0 with the Cubs coming up at Wrigley. Ralph Citarella, who made a few relief appearances this past September for the Cardinals and actually pitched pretty well on that occasion, makes his first major league start against this lineup. Bob Dernier hitting .313, 26 stolen bases. He's developed into one of the game's best leadoff men. He'll start it for the Cubs, followed by Ryne Sandberg. What a 1-2 punch. Gary Matthews will be in left field. He'll bat third. Leon Durham, who's an early season MVP candidate, the cleanup man and first baseman. Hot-hitting Keith Moreland, who had slumped early, now has his batting average up to .273. He'll bat fifth, play right field. Jody Davis, the sixth hitter and catcher. Ron Cey bats seventh, plays third base. Larry Bowa, the shortstop, hitting eighth. And Steve Rainbow Trout, the pitcher, of course.
Citarella, his first major league start, will have this defense behind him, an awful lot of speed. Lonnie Smith in left, Willie McGee with a gold glove in center field, George Hendrick right field, Art Howe at third, the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith at shortstop, Tommy Herr recovering from knee surgery 3 times. He's had that done. His range has been cut just a little bit, or more his quickness, but he's still an outstanding second baseman. David Green at first base, Darrell Porter the catcher. Citarella, you always look for a pitcher that you can compare a newcomer to. Maybe it's a guy right across the diamond with the Cubs, Chuck Rainey. A pitcher that does not impress you with outstanding stuff, but he'll nibble on the corners, change speeds, little slider, little curve, straight change, sink the fastball on occasion. This kind of pitcher can get lost in the minor league system because he does not impress a lot of scouts with a radar gun. They say he doesn't throw hard enough.
Cardinal people like manager Whitey Herzog, GM Joe McDonald will candidly tell you that Citarella is not regarded as a great prospect. Not like Rick Ownby, for example, whom they got from the Mets in the Hernandez deal. He's down at Louisville and probably will be up with the big club shortly. But Citarella went down to Louisville after failing to make the Cardinals in spring training and went 9-0. And the Cardinals will flatly tell you, we just had to give him a chance. He deserved it. Regardless of what the scouts say, the kid was 9-0. Here's Dernier, ball 1.
He's the kind of pitcher with the little sinking action on his fastball and slider will have to move hitters off the plate, something that was discussed in our pregame show. Not a knockdown, a brushback pitch. Got to keep the right-handed hitters off the outside corner.
A ball and a strike to Dernier, who has reached base in his first at-bat, leading off a ball game for the Cubs at an uncanny pace. 600 is his first time at-bat on-base percentage. 2-1.
Dernier off a new pitcher, taking a few pitches, one he's never seen before, taking a look to see what his fastball does, trying to get a little scouting report that he can pass along back to the players on the bench when his at-bat's done.
Cinderella is from East Orange, New Jersey. He's 26 years old, 6 feet tall, weighs 180 pounds. Two pitch to Dernier. Line drive, and he's on base again to start the game. Lonnie Smith fields it. Big turn by Dernier, and he settles for a single.
I'll tell you, one of the fine advanced scouts in baseball from the Dodgers, Eddie Libertard, talking last night after the ball game about Dernier and Sandberg, the best 1-2 combination he feels in baseball. You sure got to think of Wiggins and Gwynn over with the Padres.
What about Whitaker and Trammell in Detroit?
Yeah, that's not bad either, is it?
They'd give you an argument, but Dernier and Sandberg rank right up there.
They compare Dernier's running speed out of the batter's box with Juan Samuel, a fine-looking young second baseman of the Phillies. I think Samuel's got him by a little bit. Dernier doing a little groundskeeping down at first base with some soft dirt after a rain yesterday.
Sandberg had 4 hits Thursday in a loss at Pittsburgh, including a home run. Had 3 hits yesterday against the Cardinals. Ball 1 high.
Interesting to watch base stealers like Dernier. He's got, last time he had that left arm cocked to get that arm thrust. Turn that upper body, get that crossover step. With a great Lou Brock. Being coached by a great sprinter, Jesse Owens, talking about the arms. Get the legs chugging.
Won't be long now for Brock. I guess next year would be his first year of eligibility for the Hall of Fame, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't make it on the first ballot.
I would too. Sandberg, who can take the ball the opposite way, hit the gap, has learned to look for pitches in situations. This is one of them. 1-0 where he'll drive the ball more.
Here's the 1-0. 2-0 to Sandberg. He's at .321 with 7 homers and 38 RBIs. He's got 9 triples, second in the league to the Phillies' Samuel, and he's tied for the league lead in doubles with 19 with Terry Francona of Montreal. Francona, of course, on the disabled list now. There goes Dernier. Pitch is taken for a strike, and the throw is not in time.
Darrell Porter did all he could. He caught the ball with 2 hands, got rid of the ball in a hurry, made the perfect throw, but Dernier stole it off Cinderella. Hurd covering the bag. Here it is from left center field. Heading straight for the bag. Some coaches have taught for years that you look over your shoulder and pick up the ball in case it's hit. That theory has become passé. You lose a step or half a stride, you're thrown out if you break your stride when you look over your shoulder.
Now Cinderella is behind Sandberg 3-1. With the guy hitting as well as Sandberg has been, and ahead on the count 3-1, do you want to take a shot at right field still?
He's got it. At least this strike ahead. Take a chance for a base hit. If not, he still advances the runner. It's just good team baseball, and he'll do it. Or he'll try to do it.
Breaking ball for a strike, 3-2.
Those are the kinds of pitches a pitcher like Cinderella has to make. Get the breaking ball over when you're behind in the count as a pitcher. The old Johnny Sain theory. If you can throw a breaking pitch over when you're behind 2-1, 3-1, 2-0. You can win in the big leagues. Now the hitter doesn't know what to look for.
And the payoff. Line drive, base hit. Dernier rounds third. Zimmer says, come on home. Here's Lonnie Smith's throw, and he slides in safely. Sandberg takes second.
Don Zimmer, the third base coach, puts everything together on this play. He knows the grass is slow. He knows the speed of Dernier off second base. He knows Lonnie Smith's throwing arm is not the strongest, and he just keeps Dernier coming in. When Lonnie Smith overthrew the cutoff man, Art Howe, Sandberg with his speed kept going. Look at the slide by Dernier away from the throw. Great coaching by Zimmer. Great base running by Dernier and Sandberg. The added team speed this Cubs team has.
So Dernier and Sandberg again ignite the Cub attack. Good curveball for a strike to Gary Matthews. The game is tied at 1.
Look at Sandberg now, 8 for his last 11 at bats. That's hot. He and Moreland have been smoking.
In the dirt, 1-1. Durham is on deck.
You know, Sandberg, you're looking at a second baseman. There's Durham, who's on a pace, and without the DH, you got the pitcher hitting in the 9 spot. He's on an 80 RBI pace for the number 2 hitter. When Yount had that great year, the year they played the Cardinals in the series, remember, he had a 9th place hitter who had a good year. I think Gantner hit almost 300 that year.
2 balls and a strike to Matthews. The whole lineup philosophy is different in the American League, where in effect you have 2 leadoff men. The 9th man sometimes used as a leadoff man, as the White Sox do with Julio Cruz, the Brewers did with Gantner, and often your number 2 man is an RBI man. But in the National League, to have that high RBI total is an even more impressive feat. Here it is on 2-1. Moves him away, and it's 3-1.
Citarella just overthrowing a breaking ball.
He walks Matthews. Dernier singled, stole second. Sandberg drove a 3-2 pitch through the hole into left field. Dernier scored ahead of Smith's throw, with Sandberg taking second on the play, and now Matthews walks. Durham, the batter, 2 on, nobody out, and the game tied at 1 in the last half of the first. Whitey Herzog sporting the crew cut. Looks like his 1959 baseball card now.
Herzog talking about losing yesterday, picking up a half a game on the Phillies in the standings. Said we need more off days. We might win this thing. Phillies losing a doubleheader to the Pirates.
Ball 1 to Durham. The Bull was slumping before the last couple of games. He was 0 for 17, then had a double Thursday against Pittsburgh. 2 hits and an RBI here yesterday.
This lineup is RBI deep. You go all the way down to Say in the number 7 spot. He'll drive in 80 to 100 runs this year.
Hit hard, but Green fields it. Goes to the bag himself as the runners advance. That's the first out.
The tall grass slowed it down just enough. Green made a good quick start on it, though. His get-ready position. Experiment. Hernandez left, and Hendricks at first base. Apparently he's over. He's a good athlete right there. Started off well, David Green. Went into a tailspin, then went into the alcohol rehab program. He's coming back. Tough, tough battle. Right now, Porter with first base open, talking about Moreland, who's red hot. He's got Davis, who may be a little bit more of a double play possibility, although he's swinging the bat well. Just getting the signal straight with Citarella. Also the switches of signs to clarify them with a runner at second again.
With the possible exception of Boa and, of course, the pitcher spot, there isn't a soft spot in this Cub lineup.
No, there isn't, and they can bring some bats off the bench. A red-hot Richie Hebner, Johnstone, Hasse.
Ball 1 to Moreland with the infield back. Moreland had been platooning with Mel Hall before the deal. Now he'll get a chance to play pretty much every day.
Dallas Green, Jim Finks, one of the executive here, making some important trades. Controversial one recently with Cleveland. They have strengthened this ball club in every area. Bullpen, starting pitching. I get Sanderson and Ruthven back. They could cause a lot more trouble.
He gets the curve over. It's 1-1. Well, both Ruthven and Sanderson have been throwing before games, and they're optimistic about an early return.
Sanderson with back problems. Ruthven had some surgery for a blockage in his right shoulder.
Sandberg at third. Matthews at second with one out. And 2-1 the count to Moreland.
Moreland attributes his recent hot streak, first of all, to playing every day, improving his confidence, seeing more live pitching instead of batting practice pitching. And also John Vukovic, the hitting instructor and first base coach, who changed a little bit in the swing, got him to shift his weight from the back foot to front foot, where he's driving the ball better. There's your defensive alignment.
And the 2-1 pitch. Taken high, 3-1. Well, you know Cittarella's heart has to be pounding a little bit. First big league start. Classic ballpark like Wrigley. Standing room only crowd. His club has been struggling a bit. They need a lift. Now he's in a first inning jam.
Against a good hitting ball club.
Well, he threw it past him, 3-2.
So many times the style of pitcher that Cittarella is, early in the ball game on a strange mound, coming out of the bullpen, a control pitcher basically. Takes them a while to get their feet on the ground.
Three-two pitch is popped up into shallow left field. Ozzie Smith back, Lonnie Smith in. Sandberg did not tag at third, and Lonnie will run it back in after the catch.
Usually a tricky wind here in Wrigley Field. Sunfield right now, left field. It'll move over as the game progresses. Late in the ball game, will be showing in the right fielder's eyes. They're sitting on the roofs across the street. Is that Waveland out there? Waveland Avenue, left field.
And they're a little more alert when Jody Davis comes to the plate. They chant his name out there on Waveland Avenue. He's provided as many souvenirs for them over the last couple of years as anybody. He's hit a huge percentage of his homers at Wrigley Field. Ball one to Davis.
Davis, who last year tired during the heat with all the day baseball here. He actually played in a 151 ball game. He caught 135 and parts of others in pinch hit. He went about 6 weeks without any home runs, and his RBI total dropped. That's where Hasse should help. He came over from Cleveland.
2-0 is the count. Cittarella went to 3 balls on 4 of the first 5 hitters.
Every infielder now has come and had a few words with Cittarella. Howe just came in, telling him not to let up. 2-0. First base is open. Went with a breaking ball.
Say would be next with the count 3-0.
Now, when you've got experienced infielders like her, Ozzie Smith, and Howe, there's Say. It saves a trip out to the mound by the pitching coach, Mike Rourke or Whitey Herzog.
Swinging on the 3-0 pitch. Ozzie gets there. Can he throw him out? Oh, what a magician.
The Wiz. Listen to the Cardinal fans and even very, very appreciative Cubs fans.
Well, it could have been a whole lot worse for Cittarella. He gets out of it with only 1 run scoring. Coming up next, a great champion comes to a special Saturday edition of Sports World, and here's a preview.
Well, with runners on second and third, it looked like when this ball left Jody Davis' bat, it was going to be a 3-1 ball game with the Cubs ahead. until the Wizard, Ozzie Smith, with a little help from the tall grass, with that quick start, acrobatic agility, he just robs a base hit and 2 RBIs from Davis. Marvelous, marvelous player, isn't he? I'll tell you, a great shortstop, which he is, some say the best of all time defensively, has got to want the ball in all situations, and he does. He never backs off, whether it's the 9th inning or the 1st inning.
Tommy Hurst starts it for the Cardinals in the 2nd against Trout and takes a strike.
It was interesting, Bob, for those who saw the '82 World Series, Cardinals against the Brewers, how deeply Smith played against the Brewer ball club on the artificial surface. You could see on the dirt with the high grass, he was playing almost halfway even for a slow runner like Davis. Cut down the angle off the bat. They're on fewer steps.
Right through the wickets. And a leadoff single for Tommy Hurst.
You've been watching cricket lately?
Well, you take a look at this replay if we have it. It splits the legs of Rainbow Trout for a leadoff single.
Good follow-through position, the glove in a good spot. But some people feel, in fact, Bruce Sutter before the game was talking about why he thinks the ball over the last few years is livelier. Not because home runs are going farther, he said, because more pitchers are getting hit, more good infielders are getting eaten up by ground balls that they used to catch, and pitchers can't react to baseballs hit back at them like that.
The veteran Art Howe now, as Hurst chased back. A balk.
A balk. Joe West down at first base calls a balk on Trout. Wonder if it was because of the step. It may have been. Trout wants to know what. He is saying, I believe, that your right foot went beyond the pitcher's rubber. Once your lead foot for left-handed goes beyond to the outfield side of the pitcher's rubber, you've got to go home. You cannot go to first. And now Harvey is out explaining it to him. Watch the right foot. If that right foot went to the outfield side of the rubber, because the step was not too deceptive, he did not go too much toward home plate, it must have been the foot, the outfield side of the rubber. So a runner gets advanced to second on the ball.
And ball 1 to Art Howe.
Who will be taking at least 2 shots to the opposite way, and he does this very well. A good role player, Art Howe. Play first base, pinch hitter for you. Play third base as he is today. Joe McDonald, the GM, says he's just a good man of the ball club. He knows the game. He helps our younger players.
Had some very good years for Houston. Batting averages around 300. Hitting at .216 so far this year for the Cardinals. 2-0.
Howe started his professional career very late, didn't he, with the Pirates? In fact, he was mid-20s or so, as I recall, and he went to a tryout camp for some of his friends playing sandlot baseball. Says, you've got a chance. He said, all right. Spent a lot of time in the major leagues, hasn't he?
3-0. Darrell Porter is the on-deck hitter. Him on 4 pitches. So Herr opens the inning with a single, is balked to second. Howe follows with a walk, and now it's Porter.
Ruben Amaro, and it's now Billy Connors will make a trip out. That's where Billy Connors wants Trout to miss. When he misses out of the strike zone, he wants him to miss low. So with the sinking action on his fastball, he'll get some hitters over anxious, will drive the ball on the ground. If he starts missing up toward the belt, he's in bad trouble. Billy Connors has had to be a psychologist with his pitching staff. Remember the Mets at one time? Confidant of Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver. He studies this game, has done an outstanding job with his staff. Trout with that good sinker ball can turn a double play in a hurry. He's usually 1 pitch away from 2 outs.
And he misses low to Porter, 1-0.
Porter has been one of the more consistent hitters on this Cardinal ball club. He's hit the ball hard. Doesn't reflect his 260-some average.
Tries to go the opposite way down the left field line and out of play. The book on Porter is pretty much that he's a dead pull hitter, but remember the ball he hit in Game 2 of the World Series against the Brewers? Off Don Sutton, as I recall. It really turned the series around because the Brewers were on the verge of blowing the Cardinals out. They'd won the first game 10-0 or 10-2, something like that, and were leading in the second game before Porter came through with that hit. Hit down towards second base, and slowly they'll have to settle for the play at first as the runners move up.
So already a couple of times in this ball game we've seen the Cardinals team speed. Her leading that one. Howe with a good jump off first base, keep out a double play situation. Howe had to make a big decision right there. He could have waited, gotten a rundown, but he decided to outrun Sandberg in the ball. Cut in front of him where he couldn't tag him. So that did not allow Sandberg to get the lead runner at second.
Cinderella had one major league at bat last year. And this is his first in 84 as he taps it foul.
Lanier going through a series of signs down at third base. Always, of course, with one out. Got to be alert for a squeeze play from Herzog. What'll happen is catcher Jody Davis, no matter what he puts down, if the runner breaks off third base, Trout's job is to knock the right-handed hitter down. Don't let him get the ball down.
He got the outside corner, and now Cinderella is in an 0-2 hole. Lanier has been close to getting a few major league managerial jobs, and someday he probably will, Tony. The 0-2. Well, he got a piece of it and bounces it over Say's head. There's no play, and the Cardinals have a 2-1 lead. Boa went back to pick it up to prevent it from going to the outfield. Cinderella gets an infield single, and Hurst scores.
Trout did just what he wanted to do, keep the sinker ball down, but instead of getting it caught in the high grass, he bounces it on the hard dirt surface and was saved with 2 strikes, thinking, hey, what if they still decide to have a safety squeeze? Cut down his range a little bit. He couldn't get back, but Boa did save a run. Kept Howe at second base.
Cinderella has to feel pretty good about things. He was really on the ropes just a few moments ago. Here's Lonnie Smith, who fouls it off. Ozzie Smith bailed him out with a spectacular defensive play. Now he's able to help himself with a chop base hit. He was staring at a 3-1 deficit a few minutes ago, at least, and maybe more. Now he's ahead 2-1. And that gets by Say. Howe is around third. Lanier waves him home, and it's 3-1 St. Louis.
Ryne Sandberg playing well off the line. Still couldn't get the ball to his left. They've got the grass very, very high, especially on the left side, for a specific reason. Boa and Say's range with age, natural deterioration, cut down considerably.
So now Cinderella is at second, Lonnie Smith at first. Ozzie Smith, the batter, with 1 out and 2 already in at the top of the second.
Cardinals not usually a team that scores run in bunches. They don't have the home run power of the Cubs.
This one is foul ball for strike one.
Very quickly, Jim Frye's bullpen gets going.
In fact, the Cardinals have scored 2 runs or less in 31 out of 70 games this year. We've got 3 across already today. 1-1 to Ozzie.
Rich Sporty begins to throw for Jim Frye.
Change-up misses. 2-1. We'll have to see with Cinderella, but this is the kind of thing that can give a guy a lift. On the verge of being blown out, and suddenly An abrupt reversal, and he's sitting on top 3-1, and it could become more. The change again, and a foul ball, 2-2. Nice play by Hal Lanier.
Trout missed the start. That injury to the finger, did it swinging the bat, jammed it, had some numbness in his fingers for about a half a dozen days. I don't know if it'll affect his sinker ball or not.
Ozzie asks for time. Willie McGee is on deck. Jammed him.
We'll get another foul ball. Get another bat, Ozzie. You're all the way up here.
Look at that waist. He must have about a 27-inch waist.
Let's see, did you see his first game of the year this year? Did he go out and do his traditional flip before the first game, and before that 7th game of the World Series when he did his back flip, double black flip, right behind the pitcher's mound before Game 7 of the World Series started against Milwaukee? He must have been some kind of tumbler when he grew up and went through high school.
I've never seen anybody who can bounce up after the diving play and release a throw more quickly than Smith.
The man is the greatest defensive showman since Willie Mays. And a shortstop, you get a lot more chances than a center fielder.
2-2 pitch with 2 on and 1 out. Misses inside, and the count is full. The last time Trout faced the Cardinals, he went the distance here at Wrigley in April. Beat them 6-1.
Going.
Misses, ball 4. The bases are loaded. Cinderella is at third. Lonnie Smith at second. Ozzie Smith, who has walked twice now, is at first.
Well, after McGee, you've got the 2 big right-handed hitters, Hendrick and David Green. So if Trout has a problem with McGee, could be it for him.
Ball 1 to Willie McGee.
So many of the players, you can see the top of the barrel of the bat by McGee, that hollowed out portion where they take a few ounces on the top. Hitters feel their bat has more balance, get more weight in the hitting area.
Oh, this could be in there down the right field line. Moreland won't get there, and it'll clear the bases. Cinderella scores. Lonnie Smith right behind him. Ozzie coming in. Willie McGee will be in with a triple, and it's 6-1 St. Louis. Well, by the time we get back, Morty will be ready, and Steve Trout will be in the same position as the rest of you, watching the duration of this game on TV. George Hendrick takes a strike from Rich Bordy. The Cardinals have chased Steve Trout, lead it 6-1 with Willie McGee at third base, and still only 1 out of the top half of the second.
Cubs infield in.
Hit to short.
That speed
he's coming home anyway.
I'll tell you, that team speed or something. Hendricks hit a medium speed ground ball on a good breaking pitch from Bordy, and McGee, the contact play was on. If there had been no outs, he might have held. With 1 out, you figure, well, as soon as the ball hits the bat, you take off running. He got a good walking lead, even though Bordy was pitching from the stretch. And Boa looked up, and McGee was already at home plate.
Green is the 9th man to bat in the inning for the Cardinals. Strike 1 to it.
Bordy's been somewhat unsung on this ball club. Sanderson Ruthven went down. He moved into the starting rotation. He pitched very well, long or middle relief out of the bullpen. Got some starts until they got Sutcliffe and Cleveland. One pitching staff, you don't want to have a fight with that bullpen, do you? What's Bordy, 6'7", and Smith is about 6'5", and Stoddard is 6'7".
Sutcliffe came down there to join them. Of course, he's in the starting rotation. He's about 6'7". Sandberg throws Green out, but the Cardinals send 9 men to the plate and score 6 times in the top half of the second. It ought to be a very relaxed Ralph Citarella who takes the mound in the bottom half, leading 7-1. Well, at this point, it's the Cardinal fans among the sellout crowd at Wrigley Field who are doing the laughing. How some of them wish that the real Keith Hernandez was still wearing that number 37.
One of the most controversial deals ever made in that city, wasn't it? Some said that when Hernandez left, cut down George Hendricks' RBI production. Hernandez hitting in front of him with a high on-base percentage. I know one thing, you'll never replace a glove like that at first base. He's as good as you'll ever see.
And he's really done a job for the Mets. Had 4 hits for them the other day as they beat the Phillies 10-7. Made a couple of sparkling defensive plays. Now it's the Cubs who have to try and climb out of a hole, but they have plenty of time to do it. We're only in the last half of the second. 7-1 St. Louis. Say, Boa in the pitcher's spot. Strike one to Say.
Well, Herzog would like to get at least 5 out of Citarella, because once he goes to his bullpen, this ball club's tough to overcome. The bullpen's been outstanding for Herzog. The greatest finisher this game's ever seen in Bruce Sutter.
2 quick strikes.
You've got Neil Allen who can set it up for him. I'll tell you, the Cardinals going into the 7th inning in games they've been ahead, I think they've only lost 1 game all year. Doug Harvey doesn't like this as Say gets out of the batter's box, and they're on him from the dugout. Harvey answering the Cubs dugout back. Jim Fry all over him.
Harvey is about as authoritarian a figure as you'll find among Major League umpires. He won't take too much nonsense.
He rarely raises his voice, but he makes his point.
And the 0-2 pitch. Curveball got him looking.
And Ron Say does something umpires don't like. He just lets his bat lie right in the batter's box. Watch Citarella paint the outside corner. Outstanding pitching job on Say. He was in with a pitch with a fastball, and he was right back out there on the black.
Doug Harvey was involved in an interesting call earlier this year. 9th inning, Lee Mazzilli tags up for the Pirates. Tries to score from third on a sacrifice fly with what would have been the winning run. Comes across. The Pirates are already celebrating. The Mets appeal at third, and Harvey says, yeah, you left too soon. Pirates lost the game in extra innings.
Chance to see Larry Bowa with his new glasses on. He's had them about a half a dozen games. He found that his vision in catching balls, he was reaching for balls and they weren't there defensively. He wasn't seeing the ball. And today with the bright sun, he's wearing a different kind of glasses that adjust according to the light situation with this bright sun. Bob, this crew also was involved in another decision. Wasn't it Joe West, the first base umpire, who kicked out the camera crew or something in Shea Stadium? Or somebody who showed a replay on the board that was somewhat controversial, which is taboo.
3-1 now to Boa.
Joe West. He's done about everything. He's caught a robber, purse snatcher, was it last year? Chased him down and held him for the police.
Boa lifts it into short center field on the 3-1 pitch, and Willie McGee is there. 2 gone.
And you're seeing 2 center fielders today who can cover a lot of ground in a hurry, and Bernier and McGee. Ooh.
This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball.
Some people feel this center field is easy to play because it's shallow in the power alleys. I think it makes it tougher. You know, you'd make a long run and you can run into those concrete walls and into those vines.
Bordy bats for himself with 2 out and nobody on. 1 to him.
In spite of their big victory yesterday, the Cubs have been struggling. Some people in this city who've been disappointed so often have talked about a June swoon. In this Eastern Division, the way Dallas Green's improved this ball club, they've got an outstanding chance to be in this thing in September. I think the team's going to win. It's like Philadelphia last year. They got hot in September. Their pitching staff got straightened out. That's what they'll do again this year.
Ozzie from the outfield grass. Oh, is he sweet or what? Just another day's work. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Those flags, of course, beneath Old Glory, are aligned according to the standings in the National League. On the left, the National League East. On the right, the West. Padres are atop the flag on the right. The Mets in first place in the East, with the Phillies a game back. The Cubs trailing by a game and a half. In the West, San Diego's lead is 1.5 over Atlanta, 4.5 over the Dodgers.
A favorable pitcher's win. Keeps some balls in his ballpark. Now blowing almost dead in from center field off Lake Michigan.
A ball and a strike to Tommy Herr, leading off the third. He was the guy who started the 6-run second with a single to center.
You'd have to put this double play combination of Ozzie Smith and Herr among the best. Whitaker and Trammell, of course. I'll tell you who's playing great ball up in Toronto. Damaso Garcia and Alfredo Griffin.
And yet they still have to say to themselves, what do we do with Tony Fernandez, the kid they've had on the farm at Syracuse? And he's ripe. He's ready to play in the big leagues.
Now, Bobby Cox has been working him in. Playing him a game here and a game there, trying to rest Griffin, or when a little injury crops up.
Little pop-up. Boa chasing after it. It's trouble if it's fair, and it's foul.
Larry Boa, who has an incredibly high total for him of 10 errors this season. See why he went to the glasses? Boy, he had some years. What, 1 year on the turf in Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia. He didn't make an error the entire season at home.
You talked about Toronto, the Blue Jays with the lead on Boston at 4-0. As a point of comparison, and this is meant to take nothing away from Boa, who was one of the game's best defensive shortstops over the past several generations. Last year, he led the National League in fielding percentage for shortstops at .984. He made 11 errors in 705 chances, playing in roughly the same number of games. And Herr hits one off the fists. Matthews will be there in left field for the first out. Playing in roughly the same number of games, Ozzie Smith had a slightly lower fielding percentage, .975. He made 21 errors, 10 more than Boa, but he handled 140 more chances. Ozzie Smith handled 844 chances last year. So there is none more sure-handed than Boa, but nobody has the range of Ozzie Smith and makes as many plays.
I don't think Larry, even in his prime, nor any other shortstop that I've seen in a long, long time, maybe back to Apparition in his prime, have had the range of an Ozzie Smith. That kind of quickness. That first step of Ozzie Smith, he is at full speed. He's become a much better offensive player than they ever felt. When Whitey Herzog had the bets with him, to keep the strikeouts down, to keep him popping the ball up. It helped him. He's driving the ball into that turf.
1-1 now to Art Howe.
I still like Mark Belanger. Not better than Ozzie Smith, but as well as over a 12-year period or whatever Mark played. Played on dirt and grass most of his career and didn't make too many errors. I bet Mark Belanger's happy representing the Major League Baseball Players Association office. The packed drug prevention deal finally signed, sealed, and delivered.
Here's Boa, and Howe is out. Coming up after baseball, we'll have a special edition of NBC's Sports World. 10-round battle between Eusebio Pedroza and Gerald Hayes. Marv Albert and the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, will be there. Live from Panama. They had some troubles with the site of that bout. They're going to switch it to Las Vegas. Now they're back in Panama. Pedroza against Hayes after the baseball action today on NBC. Strike one to Porter as Bordy took something off.
Bordy will sink the fastball. He'll throw the slider. So while he go that four-seam fastball and try and run it in on the fists. Porter has done some adjusting in his batting stance, hasn't he, Bob? I think way back, well, a couple of years ago, he was more up on the plate. Had the stance slightly open.
He's closed it a little now.
Moved off the plate, and I would think that he would probably take some pitches up the middle a little bit more than he did in the past. There's the change.
The outfield bunches him toward the middle. Matthews gives him all of the line in left. Moreland gives him most of it in right. And they pinch in towards center field.
So they play him straight away in the outfield, or just about, and play him slightly to pull in the infield.
And he draws a two-out walk. Now it's Cinderella, whose infield single back in the second inning might be the key hit in the game. Who knows? If Trout retires Cinderella and he had him in an 0-2 hole, he might get through that inning. And Cinderella might be an entirely different pitcher in a game that's 1-1 than with a 7-1 score.
Trout made the pitch he wanted to. Pounded over Say's head.
So you say to yourself, if this score holds up, well, Cinderella had a good day and Trout really didn't have it. But sometimes it's just these little things. You change one or two of them, and the entire direction the game takes is altered. Quickly 0-2.
Durham down at first base. The catcher on base and the pitcher up hitting, playing behind the runner. Leon Durham back at home in his normal position, first base.
He's not a bad first baseman either.
No, he isn't. He's really scooped a lot of balls out, and he is aggressive. He goes after balls. Doesn't just hug the line like so many first basemen who have the bad reputations.
Here's the 1-2, and Cinderella is a strikeout victim. For the Cardinals in the top half of the third, no runs, no hits. A walk and a man is left after 2.5. It's the Redbirds 7 and the Cubbies 1. Bob Costas and Tony Kubek back at Wrigley Field in Chicago. In the other game NBC is televising today, Vince Scully and Joe Garagiola there. In Atlanta, through 4 innings, Fernando Valenzuela has struck out 9 Braves and has a perfect game going.
How about Dwight Gooden yesterday? Striking out 11 one more time. Eddie Liberatore, the Dodgers scout, saying it's the best first-year pitcher he has ever seen. That takes a lot of territory, doesn't it?
I was surprised when he said it last night as we were visiting with him. I said, even better than Fernando? He said, yeah, he impresses me as a first-year pitcher even more than Fernando Valenzuela. And Liberatore is a Dodger scout, so if anything, he ought to be partial toward Fernando.
That's what Cinderella has done so far.
Very clever by the guys in the truck. Well, it might be a Cinderella story for Cinderella. A youngster who was not that highly regarded and no longer really is a youngster in baseball terms. 26 years old after toiling for a long time in the minors.
Even a year that he had where he won 15 games in the minor leagues, his ERA was very high, almost 5. Never been much of a strikeout pitcher. Never really had a good low walk total.
Top of the order, and Dernier takes a strike.
It's a man who triggered the 1-run rally in the first for the Cubs. He singled, Sandberg singled.
That was an inning where it looked like the Cubs would score more.
They are all over home plate umpire Doug Harvey. Dernier turns on him, Matthews on him, and Sandberg from the on-deck circle, and they're up to the front of the dugout. Ruben Amaro and Jimmy Fry. Nice warm day. We'll see how much Harvey takes.
Misses 1 and 2. And the fans get on Harvey saying, hey, that was nice of you calling a ball on a pitch in the dirt. We appreciate it.
Although Harvey has an excellent philosophy, I think. He said, look, it's easy to kick people out of ball games. My job is to keep guys in. People came to see them play. Nice breaking ball by Cinderella. Took a little bit off it.
Cinderella records his second strikeout as we pause briefly for station identification on the NBC television network. Started to say that back in the first inning, you mentioned that Dernier started a rally for the Cubs, which accounted for only 1 run as it turned out. It looked like, there's Dernier in the Cub dugout. It looked like that would be a big inning for Chicago. They had a run in, runners at second and third, 2 out. Actually, with 1 out, they had runners at second and third. And Cinderella induced Moreland to pop to shallow left with the runners holding, and then Davis hit a 3-0 pitch up the middle. Ozzie Smith made a great play on it, retired him to end the inning, and the Cardinals proceeded to score 6 in the top of the second.
Cinderella did the job. He used his defense well, and he did it on the 4, 5, and 6 hitters, the RBI men, Durham, Moreland, and Davis, when he got him out of trouble. His breaking ball looks like it's coming along now. It's got a little more bite. May have been overthrowing it earlier in the ball game, and it seems to be breaking a little bit more.
2-1 to Sandberg, who singled in the first. This could be another base hit. Ozzie dives, but he has no play.
There are a lot of shortstops that figure, why dive? I can't get up and throw anyway, but it's just a matter of, I think his pride is so extreme, Ozzie Smith, that he just does not like to see a ball even get to the outfield grass. They feel, hey, even if I can't throw him out, I'm going to keep it inbounds and then that dirt surface.
Sandberg now is 2 for 2 today and 9 hits in his last 12 at-bats. Here's Matthews. Takes it high.
Takes a little bit of the running game, something that they do better, this Cubs team. When they're down by that many runs, the running game's gone. Dernier may not run if he gets on. Durham may not run. Sandberg can steal bases also.
Could be a double play ball. Ozzie to Tommy Herr. On to David Green. 6-4-3. And the Cubs are gone in the third. No runs, a hit, no errors, nobody left as a result of the double play. After 3, St. Louis 7, Chicago 1. Back here at Wrigley, Bob Costas with Tony Kubek. Lonnie Smith led off the top half of the 4th by flying out to Dernier in center field, and with 1 out, Ozzie Smith is the batter, and the count to him is 0-2. Here's Bordy's pitch. Line shot, just foul.
Talked about Cinderella's hit in the second. That walk given up to Ozzie Smith in the second also kept the rally going, setting up that triple, 3 RBIs by Willie McGee. Smith has walked twice and scored both times.
This one fouled right back toward us. And a near souvenir for statistician Steve Horn, who neglected to leave the play to others just to his left. Ozzie grounds it down to Durham, and he takes it himself for the second out. Willie McGee now with 2 out and nobody aboard. He's grounded out and tripled. Of interest to Cardinal fans, Ken Obergfell just singled home Dale Murphy in the 5th inning in Atlanta for the Braves' first run off Fernando Valenzuela. Changeup, Willie got a piece of it. 0-2. The principal guy the Cardinals got from Atlanta in the Obergfell deal, left-handed pitcher Ken Daly, has been hit hard in both his outings as a Cardinal. They also got the veteran first baseman Mike Jorgensen, who has played some in a St. Louis uniform as well. This might make it through the hole. Boa can't flag it down, and a 2-out single for McGee.
Ken Daly trying to refine that curveball. If he gets that curveball back, he's going to help this ball club. See that Danny Cox, when he gets back, he's down in the minor leagues, trying to straighten out his mechanics. The point should be due to get back pretty soon. This Cardinal team could be a completely different team with a strengthened pitching starting staff the second half, because I still think they're going to score runs. You look at this lineup today, they're capable of scoring runs.
Hendrick wraps it to Say. He'll go to Sandberg for the force, and that does it in the Cardinal fourth. No runs ahead, and a man is left. And at the end of 3 1/2, the Cards lead the Cubs 7-1. Here's the bull, Leon Durham, to start it last half of the fourth, and a breaking ball from Cinderella for a called strike. Durham begins the day tied with Mike Schmidt for the National League leadership in RBIs with 52. This ball is hit right on the nose. Hendrick chasing it down. Durham will be content with a single.
Extremely underrated right fielder. I guess George Hendrick, because of his taciturn nature, never really got his due until that World Series. That won't make a Cub friend either when he almost kept the cap. George Hendrick, who has a son just graduating from grade school, 13 years old, 6 feet 6 inches tall. Got another 9-year-old. George said he has already had feelers. He's 6 foot 6 inch 13-year-old from 2 major colleges, and just informally. Said, I want to be that kid's agent.
Moreland now, he flied to left in the first. Hits this one well, but Lonnie Smith is there, and that's the first out. Durham back to first. Well, George Hendrick is quite a basketball fan, an LA Laker booster. He's very disappointed when the Celtics beat them for the NBA title. So I'm sure he'd love to see his son excel in basketball, and it looks like he's got a head start at 6'6".
Said, I'm still waiting for the little guy, my 9-year-old, to have his growth spurt. Now Porter doesn't like what he sees. 2 pitches up in the strike zone, 2 pitches hit hard. So he's out to Cinderella to try and get him settled down and get the ball down. Trying to nurse him along so he can get to that bullpen. The 2 good finishers, Neil Allen and Bruce Sutter.
As you just saw on your screen, the Braves touched Fernando Valenzuela for 2 in the 5th inning. They've tied that game with Los Angeles at 2 apiece. To Davis with Say on deck. Into deep left center field. Back goes Willie McGee, and at the ivy, he's got it.
How different this park can be, huh? Yesterday we were out here, the wind blowing out to left field. It helped the ball out of the ballpark. That Moreland hit, a little left field porch out there. And today, Jody Davis just crushes one toward left center field, and the wind keeps it right in this ballpark. McGee feels he's hit the warning track, then he feels that those vines have confused outfielders before, visiting outfielders. You're reaching, the wall's not there. He got that right hand, got back there in plenty of time.
Say struck out in the second. Durham, who led off with a single, is still at first with 2 out now. And the curveball swung on and missed. The National League record for consecutive errorless games in one season at shortstop is Jim Davenport's 64. Say has played 57 straight without an error. Major league mark. Don Money did it over in the American League in 1974 with the Brewers. 86 straight without an error. Art Howe. One third baseman throws out another. Cubs go out without scoring in the fourth. They had a hit and a man is left. It's still 7-1 St. Louis, and we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Ralph Cinderella walking along the bench. You just saw him a moment ago. He hopes he doesn't need this man, Bruce Sutter, today. Cinderella on the long end of a 7-1 count as the Cardinals bat in the 5th. And ball 1 to David Green from Rich Bordy. Foul back, 1-1.
David Green, some say may have been the key man when they got him over from the Milwaukee Brewers. He doesn't really have a home run swing. He's very strong, but he doesn't get a lot of loft, but he drives the ball well to right and left center field. Outstanding running speed. Nicaraguan born. And because of the tie-in when Hall of Famer, the late Roberto Clemente, on that mercy mission when he went down on the plane, all the supplies for the hungry Nicaraguans, some have made the comparison because of the throwing arm and the style of Green to Roberto Clemente.
In baseball, I guess there's a tendency, even for the most knowledgeable people, to make comparisons based on style and appearance and maybe on potential. But usually it doesn't pan out that way. They call Kirk Gibson in Detroit the next Mickey Mantle, and while Gibson's a good player, looks like he'll never quite measure up to that caliber of play. And David Green will have to go some before he deserves to fairly be compared with Roberto Clemente. Full count.
But isn't that one of the charming aspects of this game, where a hitter gets up to the plate and you look at the feet and the way the bat's cocked and the stance and the way a guy swings or throws or fields a ground ball and the inevitable comparisons. So many other sports you can't do that. It's constant action with basketball or hockey or 22 guys in a relative bunch in football in the middle of the field. You are exposed in this game, and it's like golf. It is a very humbling sport.
Payoff pitch, and we'll do it all over again. Yeah, this is definitely the game that calls forth the individual. Everybody has their moment in the spotlight.
Can't get too high and can't get too low over 162, can you? Comes back to haunt you.
Up the middle, and Boa won't get to it. That's a base hit for David Green. Dernier bobbles it, and Green heads for second.
That's his first error in over 100 ball games, 103.
I think Green forced that error. He took such a wide turn when he really had no reasonable chance to get to second if the ball was handled cleanly. And watch, see if Dernier doesn't look up at Green for just a second before he fully has control of it. He's looking back at him, and he kicks it.
And another one of Clemente's trademark, you can still see him, I'm sure, rounding first base and coming into that slide halfway between first and second when the outfielder fielded it clean, and then he double back to first.
So a single and an error, and here's her. Strike one on the foul ball. Look how much better the Cardinals have done away from Busch Stadium in terms of offense. Nearly 50 points higher on the team batting average, and better than a run a game more on the road.
Dernier had played 107 consecutive games without an error until that one.
Oh, 0-2. Well, we were here a week ago. Cubs taking on the Phillies, and the Phils scored 5 in the first, went on to win it 8-2. This time the Cubs find themselves trailing 7-1 to the Cardinals, who scored 6 times in the second. So early blowouts have been the trend for the Cubs on national TV of late.
Phillies started somewhat of a slide on the part of the Cubs when they swept the Cubbies in this ballpark.
A called third strike to Tommy Herr as Doug Harvey punches him out of there.
Those you don't mind if in fact it was out of the strike zone when you're ahead by this many. Look at where Jody Davis sets up. Right where he wanted it, outside part of the plate. Bordy runs a fastball away.
Talking about the Cubs' lack of success the last couple of times they've been on TV, there are those who believe in jinxes who will point to the fact that the Cubs, after their fast start, suddenly wound up on NBC 3 or 4 times in the space of a month, on the cover of the Sporting News, on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and almost immediately began to tail off. Ball 1 to Howe.
You are not one of those superstitious people who believes that, are you?
Certainly not. I was merely explaining the point of view of a few misguided individuals. 1-0 to Howe. Down to Say. Looks Greenback and throws Howe out.
The two things Ron Say has always had: very, very sure hands and a very accurate throwing arm. And in spite of a man nicknamed the Penguin, Tom Lasorda, says you think of him not having a lot of speed, but Ron Say at one time was a very good runner. I'm not talking about a blazer. He covered a little more ground now. They're playing on a pretty rocky infield in Los Angeles. And one thing he's here for is to drive in runs. After a slow start last year, Say ended up with over 80 RBIs. Some people were about to bury him.
Yeah, this year, Say's average is low, but his power stats are respectable. He's got 10 homers. And he's driven in 40, although his batting average is under 240.
He is one of those who down through the years has disproved the value of a high batting average. You want run production. Ron Say's always given it.
Porty misses high with the change. It's 2-0 to Porter. And now they're just going to walk him. They'll go ahead and throw the other two outside and pitch to Cinderella.
Numbers of one year that Darryl Porter had with the Kansas City Royals. In 1979, he walked 121 times, had 112 RBIs, and he scored 101 runs. The year that he hit 291. Those are outstanding numbers for a catcher to score that many times.
Strike one, swinging to Cinderella. He doesn't look like the greatest hitter in the world, but it was that single he chopped back in the second inning over Say's head. It was a big part of a 6-run Cardinal outburst. They lead at 7-1. 0-2.
And you can bet that if he does pick up the win in this ball game, the thing you'll want to talk about is his RBI single. Dizzy Dean will love it.
He might owe Ozzie Smith a dinner as well. 1-2.
Most pitchers don't like anything coming to the plate with a little spin on it, whether it breaks or not. If it's spinning, looks like that snake, he'll back off.
Cinderella barely gets a piece of it. You notice with a lot of pitchers, especially those that don't bat very often, they're already ready to bail out in their stance, the way they're positioned. They're set to take that step in the bucket almost right away. Not too many will crowd the plate. A called third strike. 40 fan 2 in the 5th. The Cardinals leave a couple on and lead it 7-1 after 4.5.
Good.
Larry Bowa was part of that Philadelphia club back in 1971. Rick Wise threw that no-hitter against the Reds. He leads off for the Cubs in the last of the 5th.
Excuse me, Bob. Howe comes up tight at third, and they've shifted the defense around. They moved the left fielder in. Smith, there's Howe up tight, playing Larry to slap the ball the opposite way. Many times they'll pitch him away and play him away. Whitey Herzog, one of the only managers I know who keeps his own charts. Every ball game, he said, it keeps my mind fresh. I take the pitching chart, what was thrown, where the ball was hit, and put it in myself so that I can realign the defense the way I want it.
2 balls and a strike to Bowa. The Dodgers have scored 3 times in the top half of the 6th at Atlanta and lead the Braves now 5-2. 5-2 LA over Atlanta. 3-1.
So pinch hitter will be next.
Full count. Jay Johnstone is in the on-deck circle. He'll bat for Bordy. Little tapper towards second base. Her in quickly, and the flip to Green retires Boa.
One of the best, even after 3 knee jobs, arthroscopic surgery on his knee during the offseason again. Some felt that after his second knee operation, Tommy Hurd tried to come back a little too quickly. I think it may be a year before he gets all his quickness back when he has to re-strengthen all those muscles.
Johnstone is the pinch hitter, and he takes a strike on the outside corner. Things have quieted down since the second. Line drive, and even Ozzie can't get this one. A pinch hit single for Johnstone. Cards got 1 in the top of the first. Cubs came back with 1 in their half. The Cardinals scored 6 in the top half of the second. Nothing but zeros on the board since then.
Before the ball game, there's Dickie Knowles. He'll be the new pitcher for the Cubs when they take the field. Before the ball game, Jay Johnstone was starting to rile up the bleacher bums in left field. And some of the Cub people standing on the batting cage started thinking back to '69 when Dick Salma did it out of the bullpen. And Ron Santo, after every victory, was running out to left field, clicking his heels. Lou DeRocher just couldn't seem to get that team over the hump. Of course, the Mets got awfully hot too, didn't they?
Dernier is 1 for 2. He takes a curveball for a strike. Those two clubs passed in 1969 like 2 ships in the night. There never really was a race. The Mets were down by 9. They caught the Cubs going in one direction while the Cubs were plummeting down, and they wound up winning it by 8 or 9. Good bunt by Dernier. Howe will never get it.
Howe was playing even with a bag, but Dernier never tipped it off to the last split second. Watch Dernier. What you look for in a third baseman is that right hand to slide up the bat. It's a little more difficult for a third baseman to see it because Dernier disguised it so well, and his body was between the bat and Art Howe, the third baseman. And that's a thing that Richie Ashburn, Phillies broadcaster, worked on with Dernier. They tried the switch hitting experiment, Pat Corrales. They thought that failed. Ashburn had him under the stands at Veterans Stadium all winter. He said, look, you've got to choke up on the bat. You've got to be a spray hitter, can't swing from the air.
Look at the jump in Sandberg's slugging percentage. He's not only upped his average, but he's driving the ball like never before this year. Suddenly the homers and the doubles and triples are part of his act, and he's among the league leaders in slugging percentage. He's 2 for 2 today, a pair of singles. 2 on, 1 out. And it gets away from Porter. He can't find it. The runners move up.
Porter tried to smother it, but that breaking ball, you see the right-hander's curveball with a spin on it. Right-hander's curveball, and looking at it from the catcher's viewpoint, with all these bounce, or usually bounce, to the left. Porter tried to smother it, but it hit a cloud of dirt and scooted away. Probably a wild pitch. Maybe a telltale sign that Whitey Herzog sees that Cinderella's starting to try and overthrow and maybe tiring. So they're going to get that pen going.
The 1-0 to Sandberg. 2 balls and no strikes. We're still checking to find out whether officially that's called a wild pitch or a pass ball. Our guess is a wild pitch. Matthews is on deck. Sandberg asks for time. Durham would follow Matthews if they keep the inning alive. Two balls and a strike now.
Dave Van Olen begins to throw down to the bullpen. Herzog has 3 left-handers he can use out of the pen, although Ken Daly pitched a lot yesterday. Got Dave Rucker over from Detroit, and Dave Van Olen's now up. Allen, Lottie, and Suter from the right side of the pen.
Ozzie Smith throws goes Sandberg out. Johnstone crosses the plate at 7-2, and Dernier moves on to third with 2 out.
He has the quickest first step of any shortstop I've ever seen, Bob, no matter which direction he's going. That's why he always seems to get a good hop. That's what's happened in this ball game. 7-2. Ozzie reads hops off the bat as well as anybody. Watch how quickly this ball hits in the dirt, and he has already started. If he lays back on the ball, he might get an in-between hop. I don't think that's something you can teach, but he does practice. He works on it an awful lot.
Matthews has walked and grounded into a double play. Takes high for ball 1. Foul back, 1-1. Citarella needs to retire one more man in this inning to officially qualify to be the winning pitcher. 7-2 St. Louis, last half of the 5th. Man at third, 2 out. Curveball misses.
Former Red Sox skipper Don Zimmer, who averaged about 93 wins up in that little bandbox Fenway Park. In San Diego, Texas Rangers for a while. He'd like to manage again someday. The right job comes along.
Art Howe can't handle it. Dernier scores, and Matthews heads for second, and he's in there. It's 7-3.
You saw the Gary Matthews trademark, didn't you, that he learned from Willie Mays? As soon as he left the batter's box, the helmet was on.
Scored as a double.
Breaking ball that Citarella got inside. Howe was giving Matthews a lot of the left field line. Lonnie Smith over in a hurry, but Matthews cuts the bag well. He made that double between home plate and first base. Ran hard all the way, the Sarge. Look at Matthews' batting average going in about 270. There's Neil Allen. Giving the curveball sign. He's loosening up in a hurry. Van Olen is sat down.
Well, Herzog would like Citarella to get the win, but one swing of Durham's bat could bring the Cubs within 2. He got under it, and this should end the inning. Lonnie Smith says, "I'll take it." And he does. The Cubs scored 2 in the last half of the 5th inning and close to within 7-3 after 5 at Wrigley. Of course, if your team loses, it doesn't hurt quite as much if you don't have to pay for your ticket. 7-3, Cards lead the Cubs after 5. Coming up after baseball, 10-round junior lightweight bout. Title on the line. Eusebio Pedroza versus Gerald Hayes. Marv Albert and Ferdy Pacheco to call it. After baseball today on NBC.
Gerald Hayes, I guess that'd be an upset if he beat Pedroza, wouldn't it? Of course, he's done it before. Didn't he defeat WBC featherweight champ Juan Laporte back in '83? You thought I knew that off the top of my head. I really read it off this promo sheet that was handing me.
I was amazed. Dickie Knowles.
He was projected to be one of the starting pitchers for this Cubs team coming out of Arizona. Boy, he has struggled. He's not striking out many, and he's walking more than he's striking out. It's been a struggle back for Knowles.
Lonnie Smith is 7 for 10 lifetime against Knowles, his former Philadelphia teammate. Hit this one off the fists. Gary Matthews called off by Bob Dernier, who makes the catch.
Dernier, who very quickly has learned to take charge of this outfield, and I'm sure he learned an awful lot watching the Phillies' great center fielder Gary Maddox all those years, playing behind him.
Ozzie Smith, who has turned around to bat left-handed, first against Porty and now against Knowles after Trout, the left-hander, was knocked out in the 2nd, takes high for a ball. Slapped into the Cub dugout. Sends them scattering in there.
It's got to be a towel flash pretty soon, isn't it? That's the traditional sign. We surrender. No, Cubs aren't in a good mood today. Knowles always had a good fastball. Had trouble controlling the breaking stuff, throwing it for strikes. You can see how that fastball runs. Billy Connors has tried to get him to, I don't want to use the expression turn the ball over, but go with a two-seam fastball as Say comes up. As he tries to bunt. He does.
There it is. Say bare hands and throws, and he beat it out.
It may have been because Durham was off the bag, trying to cheat a little bit. Say read it well. Only chance he had was the bare hand. He did it. Couldn't get a whole lot on his throw. May have bounced off the plate where Ozzie got that little bit extra high hop. Durham cheats inside. If he was drawn off, or he decided to cheat to try and get a call. That first step from the left side, so important. It's, well, Rod Carew calls it like a walk in the park. Left foot over right, walk directly toward the pitcher. Don't pull off the plate too soon, or you leave the outside corner.
Willie McGee showing signs of snapping out of his slump. He's hit .350 over his last 10 games. Takes inside and low for ball one. He's 2 for 3 today, including a 3-run triple in the second inning. Ozzie Smith at first with one out on the top of the 6th. One and one to Willie.
Looking at McGee's walk total, he has 15 on the year going into today's game, which doesn't sound like a lot. Remember, all of 83, only got 26. 82, he got just 12. About 450 plate appearances.
We've said it before, one of baseball's most overlooked and most important statistics, walks and on-base percentage.
Well, that's for Gary Matthews is so outstanding. Matthews has never really walked a whole lot in his career in the major leagues. He'd walked 60 times. He's in the mid-40s already for the Cubs, so a .268 batting average doesn't reflect the on-base percentage. The true worth of Matthews hitting in that 3 spot, keeping things going.
There goes Ozzie Smith, and the pitch gets away from Davis. Ozzie thinks about going to third, but stays at second base.
That's one of those times where the middle infielder, when the ball gets by the catcher like that, where you don't do yourself a favor to tell the base stealer to stand up. They said stand up, it's by him, but if you do that sometimes, you allow Smith, although he couldn't this time, you allow him to take the extra base, but Jody Davis pounced on the ball very quickly. I'd imagine that was a pass ball that went off his glove and didn't hit the dirt. Jody Davis catching has improved tremendously this year with the help of Johnny Oates, bullpen coach.
2-1 pitch is drilled to very deep right. Moreland for a look, but it is gone. Willie McGee is 3 for 4 with a single, a triple, and now a home run.
Still see those home runs Willie McGee hit. Postseason play, the Cardinals championship year, and there were similar kinds of pitches. Left-handed, balls down and in. I want to correct something. We're talking about a pass ball. Jody Davis, of course, was a stolen base. Smith did advance to third, so there's no pass ball or wild pitch given on that. We'll just correct that. Stolen base for Ozzie Smith before the home run by Willie McGee. Tell you what, for a frail-looking guy, you can generate a lot of power if the pitch is in his zone, can't he?
Ask Pete Vukovich about it. He touched him for 2 in Game 3 of that World Series back in '82. Became, as I recall, only the 3rd rookie ever to hit 2 homers in a World Series game. One was Charlie Keller, and the other was Tony Kubek. Hendrick draws a walk on 4 straight pitches. Like McGee, you had your 2-homer performance at Milwaukee in a series between the Yankees and Braves. That had to be satisfying for you because that's your hometown.
more so from a father. Or as much so, he played professionally for the old Milwaukee Brewers in the mid-30s. Next Saturday, either the Braves or the Mets or the Yankees versus the Royals. Bob and I will be in Kansas City. Joe Garagiola, Vin Scully, be at Shea Stadium.
The Cardinals lead the Cubs 9-3, which was yesterday's final, with the Cubs winning. Cubs won 9-3 yesterday. Reversed here in the top half of the sixth.
Cubs have their bullpen going again.
One and one to David Green.
Warren Brewster, another former Philly.
Green lofts it into shallow right. Moreland coming on.
Look at the sun.
And Keith has it.
Sun in the wind, and Moreland had the glasses down and had to battle them both. A U of Texas product, Keith Moreland. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention a great college coach, Cliff Gustafson. He's turned out a lot of fine players.
Tommy Hurst singled to start the 6-run second. Since then, he's flied out and struck out. 2 outs, Hendrick at first, and ball 1. Got the corner, 1-1.
Cardinals, we've talked about it before, not much of a home run team. Team with the lowest total of home runs in the National League, Houston with 21 before today. Cardinals were tied with the Pirates before this ball game, for second last in the National League in home runs. Each of them had 29.
Well, the homer by McGee was the Cardinals' 30th, and to give you an idea of how Busch Stadium affects power hitters, 21 of the 30 Cardinal home runs have been hit on the road, only 9 at home. Line drive almost took Noel's head off. Hendrick will stop at second as Dernier plays it back in, and Herr is now 2 for 4.
Auto pop Jim Fry. Now this is the lineup with a little bit of platooning maybe at third base. Andy Van Slyke and Howe against certain left-handers that Whitey Herzog would like to stick with all year long. Because this is his best all-around team with a balance from the left and the right side. Combination of speed, outstanding defensive team, especially on the turf. So Brewster will come in.
Knowles departs, Brewster enters, and we'll be right back.
Warren Brewster will make his 18th appearance all in relief on the year. See his numbers. It's pretty much in middle short relief. Sinker baller, little slider, doesn't throw hard. Like to keep the ball low or this tall grass can catch it.
Art Howe, the first man to face him. Ball 1 the count. Hendrick at second, Herr at first. 2 outs and 2 in the top half of the sixth. 9-3 St. Louis. 1-1.
Cardinals with a rough stretch. They go out to the West Coast. I think before today, 17 games before the All-Star game, 14 around the road. Herzog would like to get through that, playing at about a 500 or better pace, and get his pitching staff, starting staff shaped up. This Cubs team has given them fits this year, haven't they?
Cubs have won 7 of the first 10 games between these two teams. Here's the 1-2 to Howe. A called third strike on the breaking ball. But on the second homer of the year by Willie McGee, the Cards tack 2 more on the board, lead it 9-3 after 5.5 at Wrigley Field.
A few years ago in Kansas City, this man found himself trapped in a monumental problem. He wrote a book about it. We asked him why.
Well, Tony, I wrote the book because I know that there's a problem in America today with drugs and alcohol, really all over the world. And I've tried to really direct it to the youth of America and just show them exactly what drugs and alcohol did to me. I'm really not trying to preach to anybody in the book, but I want them to show the negative effects that drugs and alcohol can have on a human being.
He has come back from that, hasn't he? Problem that is a societal problem, not just an entertainer's problem or the entertainment field, which some people consider ball players to be. And I like the approach that the commissioner's office, Commissioner Bowie Kuhn, who's pioneered that program, has taken. They're no longer trying to beat people on the head. They're showing some compassion. Yes, there is discipline involved. They're trying to rehabilitate human beings from aftercare.
Strike one to Moreland, leading off the last half of the sixth. They'll be followed by Davis and Say. The Cubs are in a 6-run hole, 9-3 St. Louis.
Look out.
Look out.
That was just a breaking ball or a changeup that somehow squirted out of his hands.
Well, if it hit him, it wouldn't have hurt. Our producer, Ken Edmondson, loves this angle, the Citarella story. It's being made into a Broadway musical.
Far too many balls for him to be thrown. He's gotten away with, well, some pitches. Jody Davis hitting the ball into the wind, right to the wall that McGee pulled down.
2-1 pitch now to Moreland.
He's had some help from his friends defensively, hasn't he? Ozzie Smith, namely.
3-1 the count.
Still too early for Suter. Not too early for Neil Allen, or maybe Jeff Lottie, although Lottie pitched yesterday.
Leadoff walk for Moreland. And now Mike Rourke, the pitching coach, makes the walk out to talk to Citarella.
Mike Rourke, a marvelous story. He was out of baseball for 2 years. He knows that Bruce Suter split-fingered fastball, taught to Suter when he was a member of the Cubs by the late Fred Martin. Suter hurt his arms. Neil Allen, over from the Mets, throws hard with a good curveball. Tried him in the starting rotation for a while. He's been setting up ball games for Suter, but Rourke came out of retirement. Hub Kittle, pitching coach for this team for a number of years, kind of in semi-retirement, I guess, roaming the minor leagues. He's a low-key guy. Spent some time catching for the Tigers. Spent some time managing in the minor leagues.
Now the chant of Jody, Jody begins here at Wrigley Field.
It was not your best Cary Grant impersonation you just did.
That was Judy, not Jody. Well, you're a piece of work, you know that?
You're like a fish. You get hooked so easily.
Davis drove McGee to the wall in left center field as Willie hauled down his long drive back in the 4th inning.
Cubs bullpen in action once again. Showed you the Cardinals a while ago.
0-1 pitch. 0-2. The Cubs have managed 7 hits and 3 runs off Citarella in 5 innings plus. Moreland walked to start the 6th. Off-speed pitch for a called 3rd strike.
That's what Citarella does best. Change speeds on his breaking pitch. It was a hard curveball, maybe a little bit too hard early in the ball game. Excellent motion. Never changes his arm speed or his motion when he takes something off the curveball, and boy, he hit a perfect spot also.
Citarella has fanned 3. He's walked only 2 despite the fact that he's gone to 3 balls on many hitters. He's thrown a lot of pitches, as Tony Kubek mentioned earlier. Say is 0 for 2.
Oh,
Hit him.
bad spot too. Right on the hand. Ronnie may not even go down to first base. He'll be very, very sound. And a fastball in to move him off the plate. It could be a bad one. I say his reaction as Tony Garofalo comes out, the trainer, along with Jim Fry. Just trying to keep Say off the outside part of the plate. He runs the fastball, and you can see Ronnie not reacting quickly. He may have been looking for a breaking ball or something away.
Let's pause briefly here for station identification on the NBC television network. While they're tending to say Whitey Herzog is going to make a double switch, Art Howe was the last man to bat in the 6th inning. Andy Van Slyke is going to go in and replace him at third base, and Van Slyke will bat 9th. Citarella, who stands to be the winning pitcher, leaves the game, and he'll be replaced by Neil Allen, and Allen will bat in the 7th spot in the order.
So those who say that the DH does not preclude any strategy, take that move right there, a double switch. You don't see it in the American League, along with a few other things. The strategy of judgment, when to take a pitcher out, not extend them too long. Neil Allen. Heard Bruce Sutter, if you're with us, in our his pregame commentary, how good this bullpen's been. Allen, 3 wins, 1 loss. His 25th ball game, 25th appearance.
While Allen gets warm, we have a chance to break away. The Cardinals lead at 9-3. The Cubs have 2 on with 1 out in the 6th. Allen got ready quickly. We missed a couple of pitches. We apologize for that. There you see his numbers for this season. The count is 1-1 to Larry Boa. Richie Hebner is in the on-deck circle to bat for Brewstar. 2-1.
Cardinals bullpen has 19 saves. You just saw the 3 Neil Allen has registered this year. Guess who's got the other 16?
Bruce Sutter leads the National League in that category. The 2-1. Fouled off and out of play.
Allen can have this tendency to get a little wild and walk some people. He's walked 21 and 53 and 2/3, but he's got the curveball or the fastball he can use as strikeout pitches. He's also struck out 34.
Full count. A walk to Moreland and a hit batter. It was Say who was hit by the pitch. Have put 2 on with 1 out. And now the count is full to Boa. In between Moreland's walk and Say being hit, Davis struck out. And he walks Boa. The bases are loaded.
It'll come a red-hot bat. Runners all move up 1. Don Zimmer alerting the third base runner Moreland. How many outs? Don't get doubled off on a line drive. Make sure the ball hits the ground first. Whitey Herzog checking the lineup card. See who Jim Fry's got left that he may send up. Just send up Rich Hebner. Good low ball hitter, Hebner. One time he was a dead pull hitter. Now he'll shoot the ball the opposite way on occasion. In fact, they're playing him a little bit over toward left center field. McGee in center.
Takes high.
Out comes Mike Rourke. Try and get Allen down in the strike zone. Hebner pinch hitting. Has a home run, 3 RBIs. He's 6 for 18.
And overall, 368 as he's also played a little bit of third base. Ron Say has been bothered off and on by a groin pull the past several weeks. What's he telling him?
I'm trying to read Mike Rourke's lips. So Jeff Lottie now pops up in the bullpen. He was in the ball game yesterday. The old hat thing that when a pitcher's high in the strike zone, that pitching coaches have always said, or you hear out yelled from the bench, is bend your back. I don't know how you pitch when you bend your back. It's kind of one of those old hat expressions, but he's trying to get the ball down for some reason. I don't know what that was, pointing to his cheek or face. I'm not sure.
Last of the sixth, bases loaded, 1 out. Cubs trail by 6. Hebner has 4 career grand slams. 2-0.
If he had one to right field, he'd have to crush it because that wind's blowing in a gale. Have to be a line.
This might drop in. Hendrick coming on and slides and they moved 1 base at a time because they couldn't tell whether Hendrick would make the catch or not. Moreland scores. It's 9-4 and the bases are still loaded.
I'll tell you whose judgment was outstanding on that. He could not get help from the coach. It was Larry Boa down on first base because he had to read this play perfectly and react. You could see the ball short hop Hendrick's glove. Herr picks it up and says, hey, I may get Boa on a force out at second base. So Boa had to react. He went halfway. If it was caught, he would have had to get gotten back to first. He saw it hit. He scooted to second. Very, very smart base running. Prevented the force out.
Now Dernier, who's 2 for 3, singled and stole a base in the first, struck out in the third, beat out a bunt in the 5th. Strike 1 call on the fastball. Ball and a strike. Third base coaching box. Sandberg is on deck. 1-1 pitch from Allen to Dernier. Down the third base line and a fair ball, extra bases. 2 runs will score. Hebner winds up at third. It's a double for Dernier, and it's 9-6.
A fastball into the fence. It may have even broken the bat, and here's where pitching charts can send you awry if pitchers don't execute. Van Slyke was giving Dernier a hole out of the third base line. They pitched him inside, and he turns just a little bit to get it by him. Ozzie Smith was talking about that before the ballgame. It's just a tough staff because we've changed so much to play behind defensively. You can't position because we've had such a turnover in this staff.
All 1 to Sandberg. 2 for 3. Tying run at the plate. Matthews on deck. Base hit. 1 in. Dernier waved home.
He's gone. Oh, no, cut off.
They get him at second. They do. Van Slyke cut it off and got Sandberg at second. But 2 runs scored. It's 9-8.
But to show you Van Slyke, and maybe with some help from Darrell Porter telling him to cut it off, they knew which one was the important run. The one they wanted to keep out of scoring position at second base. Had the throw gone through, it might have been close. But that one they cut down on second was important. Darrell Porter probably yelled out to Van Slyke to cut it. Good execution. Lonnie Smith hitting the cutoff man.
But the Cubs have scored 5 in the 6th. 0-2 to Matthews. And the 2 guys who ignite their attack, Dernier and Sandberg, are a combined 6 for 8. They're each 3 for 4. 1-2 pitch now to Matthews. Did he hold up? He didn't. Porter couldn't handle it, so he had to put the tag on him.
Those two also have 6 RBIs between them, Dernier and Sandberg.
We've got ourselves a ball game. It's 9-8 after 6. They're rocking at Wrigley, and we're coming back after this from your local station.
Here's what happened on the base hit by Sandberg to Lonnie Smith with men on second and third. Van Slyke in proper cutoff position. He's the third baseman. Porter, as you saw, may have been yelling as the runner skids across home plate to cut it off and get Sandberg, who's heading for second base. That was the important run, the tying run they kept out of scoring position. He erased it completely. Good execution. Whitey Herzog teams are usually very fundamentally sound teams.
Tim Stoddard is the new Cub pitcher, and Porter greets him with a drive to right, but Moreland is there, and it's the first out. The Cardinals have had leads of 7-1 and 9-3. It's 9-8 now, top of the 7th. In the 5-run Cubs 6th, they really hit only one ball hard, Tony. They had 2 walks, a hit batter, a bloop single by Hebner in a pinch hitting role, a double by Dernier down the line, which was really a ball he hit off the fist, but Van Slyke didn't think he'd pull Allen and had him played way off the third base line. And the only ball that was hit on the nose, the 2-run single by Sandberg.
Stoddard, who has refound that slider he had a few years ago in Baltimore, which makes that fastball look much harder, is having a nice year. 2 saves, 4 wins, 1 loss.
Van Slyke's first at bat. Replaced Howe at third base on a double switch an inning ago. 1-1 to it.
And like Neil Allen does so well, usually for Bruce Sutter, this man Stoddard sets up ball games for the Cubs, and Lee Smith in short relief.
Looks like it'll be out of play, and it is. Hasn't fared
Not
too
good.
well, huh?
Not recently. No.
Fry has watched his club get back into it. 1-run ball game now. One-two pitch to Van Slyke. This is high, 2-2. Van Slyke has started at 5 different positions this year. First base, third base, all 3 outfield spots. Coming up after baseball, the fight, Eusebio Pedroza versus Gerald Hayes from Panama. Right after baseball on NBC. Did he hold up? No, he's a strikeout picker.
Bob Davidson down at third base says that Van Slyke went far enough around. Van Slyke coming into his own, and Dave Green coming off the rehab program, a reason for the Obergfell deal. Took something off a breaking ball.
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't either.
Looked to me like he checked it.
I've said this often this year in our telecast, that more often than not, in fact almost all the time, on any kind of check swing situation, umpires are calling strikes, punching guys out, more than I've ever seen it. I don't know if there was a directive came from the Blake Cullen, supervisor of umpires in the National League, or what. Just maybe it appears that I have.
Well, it's Stoddard's job to keep the Cubs as close as they are, within 1 run. He's retired the first 2. The count is 1-1 to Lonnie Smith. 2-1.
Stoddard and Smith with a little friendly competition going on, so you can go out there and throw the hardest. Stoddard doesn't throw as hard as Smith. He's helped out a lot more lately. He's been put in some situations because Smith has had a little pulled side muscle.
Do the fans get into it here or what?
Lee Smith waiting if they get a lead or a tie if he's needed. Oh, they really do. And they're so close to you. That's an important part. You reach out and touch the players.
Not many parks like that left. Tiger Stadium, Fenway. Off-speed pitch misses and the count is full.
Park that Bill Beck had something to do with. I think he was one of those as a young kid, helped build that scoreboard in center field. Hand carried a lot of the equipment, some of the bricks.
Smith draws a 2-out walk, a threat to run. He swiped 16 this year. Tim Stoddard, of course, was a member of the 1974 national champion North Carolina State basketball team, which featured David Thompson, Monty Tao, Tom Burleson. He played a forward spot for them.
Stoddard a little slow in his delivery to home plate, so might allow Lonnie Smith to get a good jump.
Hebner in on the grass. Lonnie bunted for a base hit his last time up, or Ozzie, I should say, bunted for a base hit his last time.
See if Ozzie takes at least one pitch and try and give Lonnie Smith a chance to get in scoring position.
There he goes. He bluffs the bunt. Here's Davis's throw. Skips into center field. Smith continues to third, and Janier won't throw.
Number 17 for Lonnie, and he didn't have a very good jump. His feet gave way. They call them skates. A lot of slipping and sliding, and when he took that first step, watch his left foot. Didn't really have good traction, but then he accelerated. The ball's there without the bad hop, without the hop. I've always felt this is a ball that any middle infielder's got to stop. An error will be charged to Jody Davis, but middle infielder's got to get in front of that ball and knock it down. Take it in the chest any way he can. Yes, it does hurt. Now Hebner's forced to come way in case Smith tries to score. Smith from third with a drag bunt.
Is the count. Cubs have made a couple of errors today, and each was occasioned by the speed of the Cardinals. They were forced into both miscues. Smith strikes out swinging. So Lonnie Smith is left at third as Ozzie Smith fans a 9-8 ball game, and if you can hear us over the din, we're bringing you another edition of 7th inning stretch. Fans here at Wrigley have just been serenaded by Harry Carey singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" during the 7th inning stretch, and some of the more creative patrons have stuffed those soda and beer cups into the fence to spell out NBC and Cubs #1 down the left field line. We appreciate it. Here is Durham to start the 7th. He's 1 for 3. Allen delivers a drive to right center field. McGee and Hendrick on the run, and short of the track, Willie McGee will take it.
I'll tell you, we didn't expect the slugfest in this ballpark today because of the wind blowing in, and 2 balls have already been hit. One by Jody Davis, and this one by Durham, that on most normal days were out in the streets or maybe in the street. The wind just kept it in, and that man has gotten up now in the Cardinals bullpen. There's the wind blowing in straight off Lake Michigan from right field.
Here's Moreland. His walk started the 5-run 6th. Takes up and in from Allen for ball 1.
Herzog won't wait too long if Allen gets in trouble. He's got Suter up.
Breaking ball for a strike. There is Suter in the pen. And a called strike. 1-2 to Moreland.
Bruce Suter could become a free agent after this year. I don't know if his agent, Cardinals brass, are talking.
He went fishing for the curveball, and fans. Jody Davis now. With Say out of the game, the pitcher's spot is the 7th place in the order, so Stoddard is in the on-deck circle. But if Davis reaches, Stoddard won't bat. All 1. You know, when you're trying to protect a 1-run lead at Wrigley, and you've got to face Sandberg, Matthews, Durham, Moreland, and Davis, each of whom is a very legitimate home run threat. That lead is in the balance on every pitch.
You know, the thing what happens with a team like the Cubs, and Jimmy Fry's more aware of it than anybody, I'm sure, is even a victory, if they should come back like this, it becomes a Pyrrhic victory because you use 5 or 6 pitchers and you burn your staff out in this park for the next day or sometimes the next 4 or 5 days. Be very careful.
3-0 is the count to Jody Davis. Lee Smith is one of the 2 pitchers warming in the Cub bullpen down the left field line. He probably had a green light on 3-0, but Allen missed with it and walks it.
Well, he's got Hasse from the left side, Gary Woods from the right, or the switch hitter Dave Owen, and I would assume it's going to be Hasse. Ron Hasse over from the Cleveland Indians. Sutcliffe Frazier trade, the controversial deal, finally was finalized. And as soon as Hasse was announced, we're going to have another double switch. Herzog going to Doug Harvey, the home plate umpire. We're going to take Lonnie Smith out of the game in left field and put Tito Landrum out there. Lonnie Smith walked, and then Ozzie Smith struck out. The last out in the 7th, so Lonnie will leave, and this double switch may be coming. Suter, probably in Lonnie Smith's spot. Landrum in left field.
Suter is coming in to try and protect the 1-run lead, and our scorecards are beginning to look like Egyptian hieroglyphics with all these double switches. Well, a while ago it looked like the Cardinals wouldn't need Suter today. They led 9-3. Now it's 9-8. Suter is in, facing the pinch hitter Hasse. Davis is at first base with 2 out, last half of the 7th. Landrum goes to left field to replace Lonnie Smith. Landrum bats in the 7th spot in the order. Suter assumes the number 1 spot in the batting order with Smith out of the game. And Hasse takes a strike.
Suter not striking out many. There's Landrum out in left field. Replace Lonnie Smith. Suter not striking out as many. Innings pitch, still walks very, very few. Split-fingered fastball. Mike Marshall, the kinesiologist, former great reliever, calls it a one-fingered screwball.
Little chopper, which Hurd takes and steps on second to force Davis. So for the Cubs in the last half of the 7th, no runs, no hits, a walk, and a man is left. They'll entrust the last 2 frames to Suter. The lead down to 1. Now, what a day for Willie McGee. Five RBIs with his 3 base hits. He dialed 8 his last time up. It's the expression some ball players use for a home run, because in a hotel room you got to dial 8 to get long distance. Willie went over the wall and right last time. 1-2.
Whitey Herzog talks about Willie McGee as the only hitter he has ever seen that hits exactly the same when it's 3 balls and no strikes, or no balls and 2 strikes. He said he just goes up there swinging, wailing away. Never feels the pressure of on-base situations. Sometimes that gets him in trouble when he gets overly aggressive and goes out of his strike zone. He gets himself out more, I think, than the pitchers do, Bob, swinging at bad pitches. And yet he still hits a lot of bad pitches in play for base hits.
At Atlanta, they're in the 8th, and the Dodgers lead the Braves 8-2. 2-2 pitch to Willie McGee. Sandberg has to hurry to get Willie, and barely does.
The 2 people you think about in the National League, maybe all of baseball, getting down to first base. Juan Samuel, the Phillies from the right side. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody quicker than him, ever. On the right side going down to first, and from the left side, the man right here, Willie McGee, who made it bang bang, fraction of a step. Sandberg battling the sun on that high pop, high chopper off home plate.
Hendrick is 1 for 3 with a walk and has a couple of RBIs today. Drove home the Cardinals' first run with a first-inning single, and plated another with a ground out in the 2nd. A 1 pitch. Curve misses 1-1. Trout started, lasted just an inning and a third for the Cubs. He was followed by Bordy, Knowles, Brusdar, Stoddard, and now Frazier, the 6th Cub pitcher.
Well, the Cub hitters and a couple of walks to hit batsmen by the Cardinals bullpen have made this a good ball game. Like it was going to be a blowout.
Costas was able to hold it on the tip, and it's a strikeout for Frazier.
The man who set up so many of those saves for the Goose Gossage. They were teammates with the Yankees. Frazier then went to arbitration. I think he's about the 4th player of the Yankees. Maybe a few more that have gone to arbitration. They were gone. Rick Cerone went to arbitration, but he was kept. A few others left in a hurry from Mr. Steinbrenner's team.
Ball 1 to David Green. It was in 1981 that George Frazier lost 3 World Series games. And I was tremendously impressed. I was in the locker room after that 6th and final game of the World Series, the Dodgers beating the Yankees. As you might expect, a herd of reporters around Frazier. Must have taken an hour and a half for the crowd to thin out. Green hits it on the nose. Sandberg plays the short hop and throws him out. But Frazier stood there and calmly and politely fielded all the questions, showed a lot of class in a moment of adversity, and retires the side in order here. Boa, Hebner, and Dernier in the 8th. Boa trying to drag a bunt and missing it for strike 1 against Suter. Suter, you'll notice, pitches out of the stretch, even at the start of an inning. Nobody on base. That's how he feels most comfortable. Green with Suter covering, and they barely nip Boa.
And Boa barely or almost nipped Suter's leg. He got a lot of the bag, and Larry avoided spiking him. Green is a very, very agile first baseman. Suter almost didn't get down there in time, did he? Yeah, he'll get you the more ground balls. He used to get a lot more strikeouts, but that split-fingered fastball that Roger Craig has 8 of his 10 pitchers thrown over with the Tigers. Says it's an easy pitch to teach. Look at that thing go down.
Did you see the Roger Craig comment recently about a reunion the 1964 Cardinals had in St. Louis? Roger said the entire pitching staff was here except for Gibson. But of course Gibson was the entire pitching staff.
They also had Dr. Ron Taylor on that staff. Roger Craig, Dr. Ron Taylor, now the team doctor of the Toronto Blue Jays. It's quite a story.
Hebner had a pinch single back in the 6th when the Cubs scored 5 times and he remained in the game. Hebner touched Suter for a game-winning homer in late April at St. Louis. Sure Bruce remembers that. The Cubs won the ball game 3-2 on Hebner's late home run. One and 2 the count. Outside 2-2. And the Pedroza-Hayes fight from Panama. It's the key element of sports world after baseball. 2-2 pitch. A chance for her. 2 down in the Chicago 8th.
Here come the people who've done the damage. The Cubs side. 6 for 8. 6 RBIs between Dernier and Sandberg. Hebner at that last at bat was trying to pull the ball. He was just going downtown with the weak ground ball on the right side. He was trying to get one in the air into the wind and tie it up.
Let's take it a step further. You saw that Dernier and Sandberg are 6 for 8 today. Our stat man Steve Horn tells me that over their last 3 games, they're a combined 17 for 28. 2-0 to Dernier. If he should reach, you can bet he'll be running.
They complement each other so well, don't they? Because if Dernier gets on, Sandberg's going to get more fastballs usually. That thing is so hard to lay off. There's Sandberg. And maybe the single most devastating pitch, finishing pitch that I've seen in a dozen years. The knuckleball's great, and the hard fastballs, and the Costas or some of the others. But this silly thing here starts at your waist. By the time you swing it, it's at your ankles.
The 2-2 pitch with 2 out and nobody on. And Dernier gets a piece of it to stay alive.
For many years, Suter wouldn't teach that pitch to anybody. He felt that if he shared the expertise on that pitch and showed the technique and the mechanics of it, that many other pitches would start throwing and it would diminish the value of his pitch. Feeling that the more that threw it, the more the hitter would see it.
Again, the 2-2. Dernier hits it hard, but Van Slyke comes up with it. And the Cubs are set down 1-2-3 in the 8th by Suter. The Cardinals cling to the 9-8 lead as we head for the top of the 9th. Hector Lopez, number 11, that closed stance. Good right-handed pinch hitter. Tommy Herr leads off in the top of the 9th. Cardinals looking to give Suter some breathing room. They lead it 9-8.
Good thing about George Frazier, he can give you a lot of innings in middle relief. He can pitch 3-4 days in a row, give you a couple innings here, inning there, a couple hitters. Tough on right-handed hitters. Can drop down a little bit to almost sidearm, less than 3/4 of that slider or that running fastball. Rubber arm is what he's got.
Cubs have used 6 pitchers. Cardinals 3. Citarella started for St. Louis and still stands to be the winner after working 5 1/3. He was followed by Allen, and now Suter is in. 2-1 to Herr.
Tomorrow it'll be Joaquin Andujar. What a comeback. 11 wins, 6 losses. He says it's only luck. Whitey Herzog said he's hitting spots better, come up with a better off-speed pitch, got the slider down. He'll face Rick Sutcliffe, who won his first game over here the other day.
That's a base hit for Herr to start the 9th. Dernier gets over and plays it back in. And Herr now is 3 for 5. 3 singles for Tommy Herr today.
So they'll be looking for the sacrifice. You remember this man? They do on the other side of town. Britt Burns does, after Burns pitched a brilliant, what, 10 innings, and Landrum came up and jolted White Sox fans and the White Sox.
10th inning homer at Comiskey, game 4 of the American League playoffs. Herr gets back ahead of Frazier's throw. Snapped a scoreless tie. The Orioles won that day to claim the American League pennant and of course went on to win the World Series in 5 games over the Phillies. Tito squares to bunt and it's foul. You mentioned Andujar. I heard some talk that the Cardinals might switch to left-hander Ricky Horton for tomorrow. Herzog was reluctant to pitch a left-hander against the Cubs. The Cubs have the best record against left-handed pitching in the National League so far this year. Their lineup loaded with right-handed power hitters. There's Whitey and a brief glimpse of the crew cut beneath that Redbird cap. But I think Whitey might switch to Horton tomorrow and then use Andujar Monday in St. Louis.
That Whitey's had trouble with his starting staff since the beginning. When Bob Forsch went down, and they're talking about the possibility of lower back surgery on Bob Forsch. Forsch had started rather slowly, but he's been kind of one of the nucleus of the staff for years. So we've had Danny Cox, and they're looking at several others they're trying to work in the rotation. But Point's shoulder sore. Stupor struggled yesterday again.
Landrum lays off. It's 1-1.
I tell you, they're getting to the point now with Landrum up, with Hebner and Durham charging, so Herzog may be thinking of a switch. Boy, if he drops this ball down, you may see a hit and run. Let's see what they decide.
He bunts and it's foul again. 1-2. Tony, did you ever play any third base at all in your professional career?
Yes.
That has got to be a really scary feeling. Charging in on the bunt and knowing there's always the chance that they take the bunt sign off and a right-handed batter swings away, and I don't care who you are, Brooks Robinson, Clete Boyer, you get that close and somebody hits it right on the nose. If it happens to be right at you, heaven forbid, could take your head off.
Well, knowing what you just said, I just never charged.
Much to your manager's delight.
More so on the artificial surface now, where the ball get on you in such a hurry.
Landrum takes outside and low. 2-2.
probably the part of the game, Tom, you heard, that's been hurt the most by the knee surgery is that first step in the quickness. So his stolen bases have been cut considerably. Is he going? Nope.
Called third strike. Slow curveball, and Tito took it.
Now Bo and Frazier with one out, talking about who's going to cover, how they're going to pitch Porter. Bo will probably say with a left-handed hitter up, I'll be taking the throw. Any ball hit back to you. May go back and pass the word to Sandberg. And run the ball in on Porter, keep it away, and play him accordingly. Staying away.
To Porter, who's walked twice, once intentionally, grounded out and lined out.
It's a fun battle all the time. A pitcher like Frazier running the fastball away. Porter saying, hey, look, I've got a hole between Sandberg and Durham holding her on. I want to turn on the ball and sneak it through, try and get a first and third. Chances are any pitch inside will be the breaking ball, or if it's a fastball, it'll be off the plate inside. They don't want him to jerk that ball through that spot between Sandberg and Durham. Setting up outside again.
And he steps off. He wasn't on the rubber, so he can bluff that play to first base. Sandberg, Matthews, and Durham will be the hitters in the last half of the ninth for the Cubs. One and one to Porter with one out and one on. Top half of the ninth, 9-8 St. Louis. The more you think about it, Tony, it remains to be seen what will happen in the last half of the ninth. But the cutoff play looms as a big one now in the sixth, when Van Slyke cut off the throw to the plate and nailed Sandberg trying to advance to second on Sandberg's hit, which produced 2 runs and made it 9-8. Porter pops it foul. Hebner going over, but he runs out of room. If Van Slyke hadn't made that play, Sandberg would have been in scoring position with 1 out, and the inning would have still been alive. Not only did it erase Sandberg, but it killed the Cub momentum a little bit.
That's one of the first things that Don Zimmer, when he came over, and they had a conversation with Jim Fry, that Fry said, look, we're going to lose some ball games maybe by getting runners thrown out, but I want you to keep them moving. We're going to try and force mistakes. With the addition of the speed of Dernier, they want to try and take the extra base, and Zimmer fits right into that pattern. He's a very, very aggressive third base coach.
Porter steps out.
Well, sometimes you live and die with that speed. Some said the White Sox last year in the league championship series. Too many runners thrown out. They were overly aggressive. But those are the guys who mess around with numbers. Try and force mistakes, and sooner or later it's going to pay off for you. Got to keep the pressure on the defense. I said Baltimore's defense wouldn't crack last year. St. Louis hasn't today.
2-2 to Porter with Van Slyke on deck. And Herr again dives back. He lays off and the count is full. No action in either bullpen.
For about the first time all day, isn't it? Assuming that he's going to be going off first base, trying to open up the hole for Porter. Porter is shortened up on his bat an inch or so, choked up a little bit. He's trying to put the ball in play. Cardinals do that as well as any team. Start base runners and prevent hitting in the double plays, getting a piece of it.
What is it they say? If you don't have to dive back, the Dodgers are having their own way with Atlanta. You don't have to dive back, your lead isn't big enough.
It's a little Maury Wills theory, wasn't it? Get a long lead and take a stride in the dive.
There he goes on the 3-2. They stay out of the double play. Sandberg throws Porter out. Probably would have been a double play ball if Herr had not been running, considering the fact that Porter isn't the fastest guy in the world. Now they're going to walk Van Slyke intentionally because this pitcher spot is due next. Suter is hitting in the leadoff spot, having taken Lonnie Smith's position in the batting order on one of the many double switches that each club has pulled today.
Suter in 27 ball games has just got 5 at bats. Doesn't have a hit this year, so he's due.
In a game between these two clubs in St. Louis recently, Whitey Herzog walked 2 men to load the bases and get to Lee Smith in a 1-run game, knowing that Jim Fry wouldn't pinch hit for Smith under those circumstances, but Fry was anticipating the whole situation. And on the first pitch to Smith, the Cubs pulled a triple steal, with Leon Durham stealing home and the other 2 runners moving up behind him.
Triggered by Don Zimmer, who has that freedom as a third base coach. He went over to Durham and said, look, if he isn't watching you too closely, keep on going. Durham breathed a sigh of relief when Lee Smith didn't swing at him.
Earlier we mentioned Rick Wise with the 2 home runs and the no-hitter on June 23rd, 1971. Another hitting milestone for a pitcher, June 23rd, 73. Ken Brett, one of the best hitting pitchers of recent times. Suter taps this one foul. Hit home runs in 4 consecutive games. Ken Brett, George's brother.
I know you've got, well, we've got a little time while Frazier gets ready again. The runners go back. The other big day, what, how many years ago today was the Babe Ruth thing, wasn't it?
66 years ago today, June 23rd, 1917, Babe Ruth, then pitching for the Red Sox, was thrown out of the game. A 1 pitch to Suter, taken for a strike 0-2, thrown out of the game after walking the first batter. Ernie Shore came out of the bullpen. There we go. The man who was aboard was thrown out stealing, and Shore retired the next 26 in a row. Greatest relief job in baseball history. In effect, a perfect game. Only 27 men came to the plate.
That's what you call long, long relief, isn't it?
Frazier's 1-2 to Suter. And the count holds.
I'll tell you, the camera crew and the guys in the truck been sharp today. Producer Ken Edmondson. Director, what's his, oh, Bucky Gunn. What's his name?
Bucky Gunts.
Yeah. Bucky Gunts. Yeah.
Someday we're going to have to ask him how he got his nickname.
Steve Horn, our statistician, helped by the Cubs. Ned Coletti. Good job, guys. Great camera work. And you get a lot of base runners like we've had today, and a lot of things happen. You've had it from every angle.
Suter rolls it to Sandberg. He's made only 3 errors this year, lowest total by any regular second baseman in the National League. And Sandberg throws Suter out. This has been one entertaining ball game, folks, and there's more drama coming up in the last half of the ninth. Just one example of the esteem in which Ernie Banks is held by baseball fans here in Chicago. Bill Murray, the great comedian of Saturday Night Live fame. He's got a movie out now with Dan Aykroyd, Ghostbusters. He's a Chicago native and a baseball fan. He named his first child Homer, and the kid's middle name is Banks. So the kid's name reads as it would in a box score if Ernie had hit a round tripper the day before. Homer Banks Murray.
They will be on the lines at the corners. Van Slyke especially down at third base to take the double away. Also even with the bag. For Bruce Suter, they play a lot of right-hand hitters to pull. If you're going to hit that ball solid to that split finger, it's going to be to the left side many times in the hole. So Ozzie Smith way over toward third base.
Tito Landrum playing Sandberg very deep in left field. On the outside corner, 1-1.
Another bit of defensive strategy. Herzog moving the outfield back. You're going to give the looping single to try and keep that hitter out of scoring position. So they're deep in center and left. Prevent the double or triple.
Into left center field and deep. This is a tie ball game. Still roaring as Matthews steps in and lines one to left for a base hit. The winning run is on. Herzog has watched leads of 7-1 and 9-3 evaporate. Durham takes the ball.
Ryne Sandberg with a 4 for 5 day. The 1-2 hitters have been outstanding for the Cubs today. You can play them deep, but you can't put them in the seats, can you?
The 1-0. Taken low, 2-0.
Gary Matthews and Hendricks both in this ball game leading the league, and that'll get Lee Smith up for the Cubs.
That's a strike. 2-1 as we pause very briefly for station identification on the NBC television network. Well, Ralph Citarella will have to wait for another day for his first big league victory. He left ahead, but it's a tie game now, and Durham, as Suter took a little bit off it, swings and misses 2-2.
What a great comeback by this Cubs ball club. Jim Fry has managed well, so has Whitey Herzog. They've made the double switches. And then they've won it at the plate when they've wanted them there.
Check swing foul.
We get back to that 6th inning. Moreland walked leading it off. Davis struck out. Say hit by a pitch. Boa walked. And then things started popping for the Cubs. 4 runs and 7 hits.
Sandberg's homer into the bleachers and left. Tied it at 9. Matthews followed with a single. He's at first with nobody out on the 2-2 pitch to the Bull. Leon Durham is lofted into left field, and Tito Landrum has a bead on it. 1 out.
Cubs keep throwing the lumber at you. Keith Hernandez told us a few weeks back, we did a Mets game, that they're the best offensive team in the Eastern Division. Shown it with his comeback today.
Moreland had a homer yesterday. Hitless so far today. Takes a strike. If we go to the 10th, the Cardinals will have Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, and George Hendrick to hit. The 0-1.
Going.
The runner is going. Swing and a miss. Here's Porter's throw. And he beat it.
Oh, he dropped the ball. He dropped the ball. Herr really didn't see Matthews coming. I don't think it was a delayed steal, but Matthews did not appear to have a great jump. And Herr tried to hold his ground as long as he could, not give that second base spot up. He took the throw on the run, a hard slide. When he made the swipe, the ball scoots out of his glove. Good call by the second base umpire, Jerry Crawford. He didn't call it too soon. He waits to make sure that Herr has possession.
So now the 0-2 to Moreland. Misses 1-2. Jody Davis is on deck.
Gary Matthews' 8th stolen base of the season.
Ozzie Smith to his left, flags it down, and throws him out. Moreland just threw his arms up in the air as he approached first base, saying, if any other human had been patrolling shortstop, I would have just had a game-winning hit.
It's not so much that he throws his arms up, I think, at the fine play by Smith. I think a little bit in disgust at this high grass in the infield. That ball had base hit labeled all over it, and the grass just stopped it. It was hit fairly sharply, but another outstanding play by Smith. Whitey Herzog once made the comment that Smith, and this is an exaggeration, I think, 100 runs a game. I don't think he saves 100, but he saved about 3 or 4 already today, hasn't he?
100 a season, I guess. Yeah. Is Whitey's thought.
Comes out. I don't know if they're going to just put him on intentionally or just say, don't give him a strike.
Gary Woods has moved into the on-deck circle. Right-handed batter.
We'll walk him intentionally. Whitey's not going to put the decision in the hands of even a veteran pitcher and catcher like Suter and Porter. He knows that Woods, once he's announced, the only other pinch hitter they have left is switch hitter Dave Owen, shortstop. And we mentioned it earlier, because of the waiver thing, Henry Cotto cannot be called up and be activated till tomorrow. Fry is playing with just 24 players. He's got 11 pitchers. Verizon out disabled. He finally had the cast removed. Herzog knows this, that Fry is one man short.
Ryne Sandberg started the inning with his 4th hit of the day, his 11th hit in his last 3 games, 4 Thursday in Pittsburgh. Whitey with the instructions. 3 yesterday afternoon in a 9-3 Cub victory. 4 today. And that home run, number 8 on the year for Sandberg, tied it at 9. Now the Cubs trying to do again what they have done so often this year, rally and win in their last at-bat.
Gary Woods 4 for 13 as a pinch hitter, hitting .333 on the year. I'll tell you, they both managed brilliantly today and put the right guys in the position in the right spot. Whitey Herzog's bullpen has failed him in middle relief.
A called strike to Woods. The Cardinal problem all year has been run production. It would be especially galling with their bullpen to lose a game in which they scored 9 runs and led by 6.
Bullpen, as Bruce Sutter said before the game, has been outstanding. Sometimes teams just have those kinds of years where they can't put the defense, the pitching, and the hitting together at the same time.
The 1-1 pitch. Fouled off down the right field line, 1-2. Matthews is the runner at third, and he's all that matters. Davis, who received an intentional walk, is at first. 9-9, last half of the 9th.
Davis down at first matters in this. He is not being held on by Green at first base, and any slow hit ground ball, if he can get a good jump, he can beat the force out at second base or force them to make the long throw across the diamond. So he's been giving a little leeway. Green play behind him.
The 1-2. Ozzie Smith has it. Flips to her and will go to extra innings.
There's nobody like him.
There have been stars galore. Sandberg, Dernier, Willie McGee, and certainly this man, Ozzie Smith. Extra innings in Wrigley, tied at 9.
Runners on first and third, 2 outs, the tie ball game. Bruce Sutter goes to his pitch, the split-fingered fastball. Ozzie Smith, who doesn't believe in cheating a whole lot, overplaying hitters. Grass slows it down a little bit, so 2 nice plays by Smith in this inning. Keeps the Cardinals' hopes alive for extra innings. Lee Smith, who pitched an inning and 2/3 yesterday, struck out 4. He got a lot of those strikeouts yesterday with a slider. 7th pitcher used by Jim Fry and the Cubs. His bullpen is gone. Although I'm sure somebody might volunteer. He's got Rainey, Russell, Eckersley, and Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe scheduled tomorrow. Russell started yesterday. Rainey, if this gets to be long drawn out, extra inning game, might volunteer and help out if needed.
It's Ozzie Smith who leads off in the 10th. Foul ball, strike one.
Trying to slap it by. Hebner playing in tight at third base.
Suter's 16 saves, leads the National League. Al Holland has 15, and the guy on the mound now for the Cubs, Lee Smith, is next with 14. Little bloop down the left side. Matthews chasing over and leaping in. Boy, what an effort. And he's upset that he didn't come up with it. What a tremendous bit of hustle by Gary Matthews.
He had a long run, and he's battling the wind and looking almost into the sun. Now he goes from the sun to the shade, and the fan just got a piece of it. But once Matthews put that glove in the stands, he's fair game. No fan interference can be called then. The fan reaches out into the playing field over the stands. The umpire can call it.
Lee Smith delivers to Ozzie Smith. Foul ball, same direction, still 0-2. Ozzie Smith is 1 for 10 lifetime against the Cubs' towering reliever Lee Smith.
He's thrown all fastballs till this point. See if he gets it with a slider, the pitch that was so effective for him yesterday.
Slaps it by him, base hit.
That was interesting. Hebner, before that pitch was thrown with 2 strikes on Ozzie Smith, looked into the dugout to see if he should move back a little bit. Somebody probably said, nope, stay even with the bag. We still want you to guard the line and take the double away, and you guard the line, you give ground to the left. Smith shot it through.
So Ozzie now has a couple of hits and also a pair of walks. And here's Willie McGee. 3 for 5, a single, a triple, and a home run. 5 RBIs.
Just trying to find out something with McGee. See if the hand slides up the bat to tip off the bunt. Hebner in tight, and Durham will be charging.
Ozzie is going. The pitch is taken low and away. Davis's throw, safe.
19th stolen base for Ozzie Smith. He's been caught just 5 times. The little guy's played one heck of a game today. Left-hand hitter McGee gives a little bit of an advantage to the base stealer. Catcher has to throw over the top. This seems like a simple thing, but look at how straight a line Ozzie Smith uses from first to second. I say it's simple geometry, but so many guys just kind of waver off a step or two, and they get just thrown out bang bang. He'll be trying to pull the ball, but he doesn't.
This could be a base hit. Matthews racing toward it, can't get to it. Ozzie Smith rounds third, and he'll score. Willie McGee has a 4-hit day, and he is hit for the cycle. Willie McGee had a triple in the second, a single in the fourth, a homer in the sixth, and now a double in the 10th.
6 RBIs for Willie McGee. Last one hit for the cycle. Was it Lou Brock for this Cardinal team? Show you how funny this game is with Ozzie Smith at second base, nobody out. You want your hitter to pull the ball, to give himself up. Not McGee, he went the other way. Gets the gravy.
Hendrick grounds it to short. McGee's going to advance to third anyway as Boa throws him out.
How's that for speed? Very few could have done that on a sharply hit ball to shortstop. Boa looked up. Second time it's happened. McGee was on third base earlier with 1 out with the infield in. Hendricks hit a ground ball to short. Boa looked up and McGee was crossing home plate. Now in a play that they say is bad baseball. That's what the book will tell you. Ball to the left side. Don't go to third. McGee with that great acceleration burst into third base.
You're right, by the way, Tony. The last time a Cardinal hit for the cycle, it was Lou Brock against San Diego at San Diego in May of 1975. Willie McGee has done it today. And now it looks like Steve Braun will come on as a pinch hitter. Left-handed batter to face Smith.
Braun has had 46 at-bats this season, hitting at .239, but a decent on-base percentage. He's walked 8 times. On-base percentage of .352.
So he bats for David Green. There are a number of moves left open to Whitey Herzog. One possible one would be to move Van Slyke to first base and insert Mike Ramsey, the utility man, at third base in the bottom half of the inning. Braun can also play the outfield, in which case Hendrick could move to first base if that's what Whitey wanted to do.
Infield's in. It'll be the fastball of Smith against Braun, trying to get the sacrifice fly. Dernier with a good throwing arm. Moreland right with a good throwing arm. Gary Matthews, I guess about average, maybe a little better. And slider. Lee Smith not throwing quite as hard. He's had a pulled muscle in his side. It's bothered him over the last few weeks.
The 0-1 pitch.
Here he
A
comes.
little squibber. They won't get Willie McGee, and Durham has to be content just to tag Braun out.
Contact play again, like it was the time when Hendricks grounded to short. I wonder, was McGee ever timed, did you know of, Bob, in the 100-yard dash as a high school kid? Maybe he never even ran track, but he just accelerates so quickly. Durham looked up, and he was 3/4 of the way home already as he was feeling the ball. So he's gotten some RBIs with that speed. Got one on the ground out to short for Hendrick. Just got an RBI with that speed for Braun.
Tommy Herr is 3 for 5, 3 singles. I imagine if you're a fan of whatever team winds up losing this game, it might be difficult to accept this point of view, but if you're just a fan of the game itself and no particular rooting interest for either club, you leave a ballpark like Wrigley Field after a game like this glowing. This has just been a great ball game.
Seems a long time since we saw Cinderella, who started for the Cardinals, and Trout for the Cubs. Now you wonder what's going to happen to this Cubs bullpen now. They've got to get some complete games out of somebody. They've used 7 pitchers.
Herr gives one a long ride, but Moreland is going to be there. Ball is not carrying in that direction. The Cardinals come up with 2, and Willie McGee was the key man in the inning. They take an 11-9 lead to the bottom of the 10th. Is it safe today? Don't bet on it. Coming up after the baseball, Eusebio Pedroza versus Gerald Hayes from Panama. I hope it's half as exciting as this ball game has been. Boa leads it off and takes a ball from Suter. Unless something should change drastically here in the last of the 10th, this week's NBC Light Beer from Miller player of the game is Willie McGee, and Light Beer from Miller. A strike 1-1 is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of that man, Willie McGee, to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. On another day, Ozzie Smith would have gotten the nod, but it was tough to ignore Willie McGee hitting for the cycle and 6 RBIs. Here's Tommy Herr, and he throws Larry Bowa out.
These are the kind of days where, when you're on the losing team, which looks more and more likely with the Cubs, there's Mike Jorgensen at first. A lot of good days are ruined, like Ryne Sandberg tying it up with a home run, a 4 for 5 day. Dernier, 3 runs scored, 3 base hits, stolen base, 2 RBIs.
Here's Hebner now. Foul ball. We saw Jorgensen, the new first baseman. When I was guessing about all the possible moves Whitey Herzog might make after pinch hitting for David Green, I forgot the most obvious one, the simplest one. He's got a new first baseman now in Mike Jorgensen, over from Atlanta, along with Ken Daly in the Ken Obergfell deal. And so Jorgensen, who has been with a number of ball clubs and is a good fielding first baseman, is there now.
Well, Herzog's got some extra moves he can make if he needs to. He's still got Glenn Brummer, right-handed hitter, extra catcher, Mark Salas, a left-handed hitter, switch hitter Mike Ramsey. He's got Rucker up in his bullpen along with Lottie, all of Fry's bullpen's gone and only one extra man left. Dave Owens, switch hitter. Herzog has his bullpen going.
Fouled at the plate, 2-2. In the bullpen for the Cardinals, Jeff Lottie, and Rucker is also up and throwing.
Rucker, the left-hander. Hebner gratefully got a little bit of a piece of that split-fingered fastball that shot down from Bruce Sutter. Interesting to see if the Cardinals re-sign him. Maybe one of the reasons they went out, in case his demands they may feel are exorbitant, they went out and got
Neil Allen.
Yep.
Here's a chance for Jorgensen. He'll take it himself. And the Cardinals are 1 out away from winning a wild one. The Major League Baseball Game of the Week has been brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Miller High Life, the best beer for the best time of the day. Welcome to Miller Time by IBM and the growing family of IBM personal computers. And by AC Delco, General Motors Corporation. AC Delco is the way to go.
The 8 outs Sutter has gotten thus far have all been ground ball outs. That's when he's the best, when he keeps the ball down.
Dernier trying to get on and give Sandberg another chance. Takes a ball.
Sutter gets so many hitters out with pitches out of the strike zone. You just can't lay off the split finger. And he continues to throw it even when he's behind. There it is. Dernier may be constructed. 2 runs down to go up and take a strike. That's setting the table right there, isn't it?
And it's 3-0 now. On the inside corner and at the knees, 3-1.
I'll tell you, in spite of some of the protestations by the Cubs early in this ballgame when Trout was on, Doug Harvey's called a heck of a ballgame. Very little bit of bickering since that first or second inning.
And now the Cardinal fans, and there are many of them, chanting for Sutter. The payoff pitch. He held up and took ball 4.
Nope. Porter may have thought that he fouled it or it was a strike. Here comes the man again. What a day he's had, Sandberg.
He checked it.
Oh, that's funny. That was very, very close to being a strike, and I wonder if Porter, boxing that ball as he did, didn't lose the pitch for Sutter. It was close. They're going to let Dernier steal if he wants it.
His last time up, Sandberg homered to tie it at 9 in the 9th. He's the tying run at the plate now in the 10th.
Dernier should take it if they give it to him and remove the force at second base. Jorgensen at first, play behind him, saying, you want to steal, your run's no good.
The 1-0 pitch. Got the corner, 1-1. Our game today was produced by Ken Edmondson, directed by Bucky Gunts. Mike Weisman is the executive producer of NBC Sports, coordinating producer of baseball, Harry Coyle. 1-1 pitch.
Oh,
He hits it to deep left center. Look out! Do you believe it? It's gone! Matthews takes a ball and move over Willie McGee. There may be a new player of the game. Ryne Sandberg, 5 hits, including 2 home runs.
6 RBIs.
Here's Ozzie. Took a bad hop, but that's nothing for him. He throws to Jorgensen.
Wow, what a ball game.
We will go to the 11th, tied at 11. Sandberg, in the Cubs' last at-bat, has twice delivered a game-tying home run, a solo shot of the night, a 2-run blast with 2 out of the 10th. Back after this from your local station. Tony, not only can I not remember the last time I broadcast a game this good, I can't remember the last time I've seen a game this enjoyable, this entertaining.
Well, you get those kinds here in Fenway Park, don't you, or Detroit's Tiger Stadium. Here's the second game-tying home run by Ryne Sandberg in the 9th and the 10th. How dramatic can you be? 5 for 6 today. What a job, Dernier, and 6 walks and 1-hit batsman. One of those walks intentionally given up by the bullpen of the Cardinals, and 4 of those have come back to haunt him and scored. That's what happened. They walked Dernier, and then Sandberg put it to him again.
Salas bats for Landrum and pops it up. Sandberg wants it. They'll cheer his every move. He's got it.
And more, Jimmy Fry, a man who coached for Earl Weaver with great Oriole teams and saw Bobby Grich come up as a kid. More and more, Jimmy Fry says that this man, offensively and defensively, reminds him of Bobby Grich, one of the most underrated players around. They had such great players with those Orioles. Grich was overlooked, but they field alike, they battle every ball, they rarely miss the ball, they turn the double play, and now Sandberg started for power, just like Grich.
Darrell Porter now. If the Cardinals could ever find an inning in which Willie McGee batted and Sandberg didn't, I think they'd win this game. Strike 1 to Porter. I tell you, Roy Hobbs, the natural, would be pleased by Sandberg's performance today. They don't come any more heroic than that. Man, what a day. Packed house at Wrigley, one of the great ballparks. Perfect day for a game weather-wise. 11-11 in the 11th. Smith to Porter. Misses just outside, 2-1.
Not too often in the ball game you see the first and second hitters, Dernier and Sandberg, in this case driving in 9 runs in a game, huh? Between them.
Here comes the 2-1. Grounded towards short, and Boa is up with it. 2 gone in the Cardinal 11th.
Whitey Herzog won't sleep too well tonight, whether they win or lose.
Smith and Suter. That's what it's down to now. Each has been more effective on other occasions, on countless other occasions. I wonder if either has pitched, however, in a game any more memorable than this one. At least any more memorable during the regular season. Suter, of course, put the finishing touches on the Cardinals World Championship back in '82. 2-0 to Van Slyke.
Well, Herzog has other people to go to if he wants to. In case Suter weakens, if this game goes on, he's got somebody left in his bullpen. Rucker, Van Olen, Lottie, Daly if he decides to use him again, although I doubt it after yesterday. But for Jim Fry, he's down to starting pitchers now. Rainey, Russell, Eckersley, and Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe scheduled tomorrow.
Van Slyke takes it high and away, 3-0. The pitcher's spot is next, and Mike Ramsey has moved into the on-deck circle for the Cardinals. He walks him on 4 pitches. being extremely careful with Van Slyke, who is somewhat of a home run threat.
So Suter's not going to finish this ball game for the Cardinals. Ramsey's going to pinch hit.
We started with standing room only. It is still SRO at Wrigley.
They haven't left the housetops either. More people there than we've ever seen congregated outside the ballpark.
I'll tell you, this is a telephone game, Tony. This is the kind of game where you pick up the phone, you start calling your buddies. Say, you won't believe this. You got to turn the game on. Or if you live out on Waveland, get up on the roof.
You don't need announcers for this one.
But we're glad we're here.
Oh. Van Slyke has 10 stolen bases, been caught just twice. He was doing a little groundskeeping at first.
And look at the way Davis is setting up behind the plate. He's poised to throw. This is the kind of game where a guy batting .071 is likely to be the hero.
Davis had been throwing better this year. He's bounced a couple throws today, but Johnny Oates has worked with him, quickened up his release. I think what happens to Davis more than anything else, especially a game like this, your legs get a little tired. You can't spring out of the crouch. It happened to him last year, affected his hitting and his throwing. Catching so often. Got a good lead off first.
There he goes. Taken high, and the throw won't get him. He's in scoring position with 2 out.
Those are one of those where Jody Davis almost has no chance at all. Lee Smith at about 6'6", who's fairly quick to first base, but slow coming home. And Jody is forced to really rush that throw so much he's bouncing the ball, but he's not going to get anywhere with a perfect throw on that. Cardinals' speed has shown in this ball game so far. Kept them in it, really, defensively and offensively.
Ozzie Smith,
yep.
Willie McGee.
Yep.
Now Van Slyke with what could be a big steal, depending upon what Ramsey does. 2-0 pitch. Swing and a miss, 2-1. For the Cubs in the last half of the 11th, what could be called the heart of the order. Matthews, Durham, and Moreland, but any inning which doesn't include Dernier and Sandberg doesn't include the Cubs' best. 2-2. At least not today. Dernier and Sandberg have been the offensive story for the Cubbies. 2-2 pitch with 2 out. Sandberg. He can do no wrong. Back with the last half of the 11th from Wrigley Field in Chicago after this. It's ball 1 from Dave Rucker to Leon Durham, leading off in the last half of the 11th inning. Followed by Moreland and Davis. Inside 2-0.
When Rucker hit the mound for the Cardinals, it was the 18th player that Whitey Herzog has used. Jim Fry has already used 19, his entire bullpen, so he's gotten a starter up now in case Smith either gets in trouble or comes up to hit. So he's into his starting rotation now, and Chuck Rainey loosening up in the bullpen.
There's Rainey. 2-1 pitch coming to Durham. 3 balls and a strike. For those of you just joining us, you got to be sorry about what you missed. Cardinals got 1 in the first, so did the Cubs. Cardinals got 6 in the second inning. Eventually, Durham walks. Eventually, they built leads of 7-1 and 9-3. The Cubs got 5 runs in the 6th inning, got back to within 9-8. Ryne Sandberg, as you look at scores of other games today, none of which will equal this one. Ryne Sandberg led off the 9th with a homer off Bruce Suter. His 4th hit of the game, it tied at 9-9. Willie McGee produced a double for the go-ahead run in the top half of the 10th and later scored what looked like an insurance run, making it 11-9 in favor of the Cardinals top half of the 10th, and Willie McGee at that point had hit for the cycle. With 2 out and nobody on, Rucker is leaving now and Lottie is going to come in. 2 outs and nobody on in the last half of the 10th. Bob Dernier drew a walk, and Ryne Sandberg, also known as Frank Merriwell today, delivered another home run off Suter, this time a 2-run shot to tie it at 11, and now we are in the 11th.
The big days, well, it hasn't belonged to the bullpen on these two teams, nor the starters. Citarella, although he pitched pretty well, looked like he was going to get a win with a big lead, nor Trout. Now it's Lottie. Big day by Willie McGee. He's hit for the cycle. 6 runs batted in already in this ball game. Sandberg has 7 runs batted in. There he is. It is early to start talking MVP. For all that he has done, aside from winning a Gold Glove last year, his first year, full year at second base, that is the man that Dallas Green wanted in the trade with the Phillies. He said, I'll make the deal if you throw in the kid, Ryne Sandberg. They threw in the kid all right, didn't they? Oh.
You can smile, Ryne. It's your first 5-hit game for your career, and the 7 RBIs is also a 1-game personal high.
So now each team has used 19 players. Remember Jim Fry playing 1 short with just 24, which seems insignificant, but all he's got is Dave Owens left on the bench, switch hitter as a position player.
Here's Moreland. Do you sacrifice?
Well, he's not the guy I would, but they're kind of looking for it. I let him whack away. He's not a bunter.
He's swinging. No sign on the bunt as he takes the ball.
Lottie, pretty much of a power pitcher. Came in yesterday, threw some good fastballs, hard slider. See if he can get it up again with that fastball. Don Zimmer flashing a lot of signs in today's ball game.
He'll have wrist cramps. He's going on the 1-0. Swing and a miss. Porter's throw. He's in there. Into center field. He'll continue to third. The winning run at third with nobody out.
Folks, we will probably see the bases walked loaded now and the outfield come in to line drive depth. See what Herzog has to do. If to walk Moreland and Davis, I would assume. A tough pitch to throw on a slider low and away. The ball sails in. Herr tries to keep it in the infield. The ball skitters off his glove, and Durham pops right up. So the Cardinals have shown speed, but so has this newly revised Cub team by Dallas Green, along with Jim Finks. I'll tell you, these bases on balls have haunted this Cardinal staff all day long. And they hit batsmen earlier. Looked so comfortable early for Whitey Herzog, didn't it? There's one. Moreland. Errol will have to be charged, obviously, to Porter for that ball bouncing in the center field. Stolen base for Durham. Allowing Durham to go to the extra base. See what, that's the 3rd intentional walk given up by Herzog in this ballgame. He walked Davis in the 9th intentionally. Nine walks given up by Cardinal pitching and 1 hit batsman.
Whitey may lose this game, but he really can't second guess himself. He had his best in there, and Sandberg twice hit him for game-tying homers. He had Allen in ahead of Suter, try and prevent Suter from coming into the game, and Allen just couldn't get the job done.
Here comes the last position player Jim Fry's got left. You think Spike Owen, Dave Owens' brothers watching out in Seattle? Spike plays shortstop for the Mariners, and his brother's up in a tough situation. Needs a sacrifice fly. Have to bring everybody in. The outfield. Come way in. McGee with an outstanding throwing arm in center. Outstanding in right and Hendricks. Salas in left, we're not sure of. He should have a good arm because he's a catcher outfielder. Good speed at third base with the only base runner that means anything, Durham. He jammed that shoulder, diving head first into second base. They are way in the outfield.
Owen is a switch hitter who's hitting just 133 left-handed. 304 overall. No Nobody out, and they're loaded in the 11th. Foul ball, strike one.
Cubs have now used 20 players. 39 players using this ball game. The only position player left on either bench is Glenn Brummer, the catcher.
The 0-1, inside and low, 1-1. If Owen doesn't get it done, Boa would be next. Beyond Boa, Hebner. That's it. Dave Owen delivers the game-winning hit. Ryne Sandberg and Willie McGee will share our light beer from Miller player of the game. The Cubs, who trailed 7-1, 9-3, trailed 9-8 in the 9th, 11-9 in the 10th. They come back and win it 12-11. Can't remember the last time I saw a better one. Back after these messages from your local station.